This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Ted Noffey there at the 16th pole. Brent is not done yet. He's coming back. Ted Noffey, Brent, Mystery Peas it at 2. Here's the wire. Ted Noffey did it. That's the Gold Diamond. It's charging down the middle of the turf course and goes by them all. And the Gold Diamond has taken the lead, and at 25-1, and the Gold Diamond wins the turf.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Citizen Bull and Nisos. Nisos and Citizen Bull, side by side and stride for stride. Who's it going to be, Nisos or Citizen Bull? In the dirt mile, it is too close to call. Scylla turns for home in front. She's got a 2-length lead coming to the final furlong. Nitrogen is second, Clico is third, Regaled is put in a bit on the far outside, but Scylla's running away under Junior Alvarado. Scylla by 4, Scylla by 5. Scylla so strong in the distaff. She won it for fun. Journalism is second. Sierra Leone, Fierceness, one off the rail. Still forever young to catch. Fierceness is coming. Sierra Leone and Journalism, they're coming to the finish. And it is forever young. Celebrate Japan. They've won the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Now here's Mike Penna.
A Larry Colmus Breeders' Cup montage to get your Saturday started. Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum, and it is all presented by TwinSpires, and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. As always, you are listening to the show on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm going to spend a lot of time over the next 3 hours here this morning looking back on the Breeders' Cup, but I'm also not going to neglect some of today's racing. Yeah, believe it or not, racing does continue after the Breeders' Cup. I know we're all kind of catching our breath and regrouping a little bit. Many of us have made our pilgrimage back to Kentucky for the horse sales. You had the Fasig-Tipton Night of Star sales, which was awesome, as always, and now Keeneland November sale in full swing. Vance Hanson is going to have a look at a trio of Grade 3 races taking place this afternoon when he joins me for this week's edition of the TwinSpires Triple Play. That comes your way at 10 o'clock Eastern. He'll look at the Hill Prince and the Long Island Stakes at Aqueduct, and then the River City Stakes at Churchill Downs this afternoon. I'm also going to mix in a conversation with owner Dean Reeves, looking ahead to the Tattersalls December sale. Now, Dean has had considerable success, not just at Tattersalls, but with all of his horses, but certainly at Tattersalls. He's purchased several horses there, including his multiple Group 1 winner, Porta Fortuna, who is set to be offered at the December sale, December 1st to the 3rd. So you'll hear from Dean coming up later in the program, mixed into all of the Breeders' Cup conversation. And in terms of looking back on the Breeders' Cup, I'm going to catch up with so many of the connections associated with Breeders' Cup winners. You'll hear from Ned Toffey coming up in the first segment of the program right after our first commercial break in about 10 minutes from right now. Ned, the namesake of Ted Noffey, the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner. And it's such a thrill for him. He's a fantastic farm manager, is Ned Toffey. He runs Spendthrift Farm. He's been doing it for a very long time. And he does it as good as anybody. He was voted Farm Manager of the Year a few years back. You're going to hear from him talking about what it means to have a horse the caliber of Ted Noffey named in his honor, and he'll tell you about how that all came about. It's a really funny story, cool story. You'll want to stay tuned for that in just a few minutes. I'm going to visit with Jose Francisco D'Angelo. He is the trainer of not one but two Breeders' Cup winners. She's So Spicy won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and in the very next race, he celebrates a win in the Breeders' Cup Sprint with Ben Tornado, who avenges his loss to Straight No Chaser in last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. He was second last year, first this year. And Jose Francisco D'Angelo, the native of Venezuela, is going to join me right around 8:35 Eastern. You'll hear from Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds. What a day for West Point. They're no strangers to the Breeders' Cup Winner's Circle. They were there again with Super Corridora after her win in the juvenile fillies. She takes that field wire to wire. And one of the questions that I'm going to bring up with Dale and Tim when they join me for a Breeders' Cup recap edition of I Ask They Answer at 10:30 Eastern is Super Corridora now the filly to beat looking ahead to next year's Kentucky Oaks, or was this kind of just a one-off fantastic performance for her? She continues to improve. She continues to get better. I don't know if you look at her as the one to beat right now, but she's in the conversation. Donnacha O'Brien, he saddled Valentina, his very first Breeders' Cup winner last weekend. The son of Aiden O'Brien, who is now tied at the top with Bob Baffer. Aiden had the lead for a little bit. Bob came and caught him. They're tied for most Breeders' Cup wins of all time. But Valentina winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf was super impressive. It was a surprise to many of us, including Donnacha O'Brien. I don't think he was really expecting her. I think he thought she would run well. If you remember, he visited with me on Trainer Talk, and then I replayed a portion of that interview for you right here on the Equine Forum a couple weeks ago. But I think he was high on her, but he wasn't expecting a win. It's always nice when it happens like that. And Valentina found a way, under a beautiful ride from Oisin Murphy, to get the victory in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. So you'll hear from Donnacha, 9:20. All of that part of a Breeders' Cup look-back edition of the program for you here this morning. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Some really fascinating angles and storylines there. I mentioned Dale and Tim. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin. By the way, congratulations to Dale and to his entire family. Dale became a grandfather this past week. We'll get a chance to talk to him about that when he joins me 10:30 Eastern. But when they look back, when Dale and Tim look back on the Breeders' Cup with me, one of the other things I'm going to bring up is the Breeders' Cup Classic. We were all talking about this being one of the deepest classic fields we've seen in some time. Now, the Scratcher's sovereignty took away from some of that depth and some of the star power. But you still had the top three finishers from last year's Breeders' Cup, and this time it was Japan's Forever Young who turned the tables on both Sierra Leone and Fierceness in getting the victory. Sierra Leone did his thing. He ran a really good race. He came up a little bit short. Ends up second. No shame in that. One of the things I'll bring up with Dale and Tim is that second place finish enough to make him a legitimate player in the Horse of the Year conversation? Or did it pretty much lock up Horse of the Year for Sovereignty, who didn't even have to compete in the Breeders' Cup Classic in order to maybe earn that title? I think it did. I think the only way somebody was going to be able to dethrone Sovereignty for the Horse of the Year this season was to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. And Sierra Leone, if he had won it, yeah, I think we'd be having a very serious conversation about this. But I'm going to get Dale and Tim's take on that coming up later in the program. So lots of things to get to for you here this morning, including our poll question, by the way. I told you, racing does go on after Breeders' Cup. And there are some big days still ahead. So the poll question for you this morning is, with Breeders' Cup in the rearview mirror, which racing days are you most looking forward to next? The Clark Handicap Weekend at Churchill Downs, which is just a couple weeks away. Cigar Mile at Aqueduct. Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream. Or maybe it's the Kentucky Derby. Those are your four choices. With Breeders' Cup in the rearview mirror, which racing days are you most looking forward to next? The Clark, Cigar Mile, Pegasus World Cup, Kentucky Derby. You can go to @HRRN on X to cast your vote. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook to weigh in, or you can email the show, Mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts. Time now to check in with our producer, Lee Delapina, for this week's Impossible Trivia question. Lee, what do you got?
Thank you, Mike. Which famous game show host once owned a 724-acre horse breeding farm in Santa Barbara, California, and what was the name of the farm? Here's a hint. Today is their birthday. No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
God, I love those questions. If you can get it right, good for you. Again, the answer to the question comes your way, 10:55 Eastern. All right, here's the full lineup for you. Ned Noffey coming up in just a few moments after this first commercial break. Trainer Jose Francisco D'Angelo, right around 8:35 Eastern. Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, 9 o'clock. Trainer Donnacha O'Brien, 9:20. Dean Reeves at 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern begins hour 3. It begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance Hanson will give you 3 races to watch and wager on at TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. And looking forward to that segment as we do each and every week. Busy show. Ned Noffey next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Who's it going to be? Nice Oser Citizen Bull in the dirt mile. It is too close to call. Was it Nisos? Was it Citizen Bull? The Bob Baffert trainees noses apart on the wire.
That's Nisos doing it again. The son of Darley Stallion Nyquist showcasing his class with another big win, this time in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. An effort which makes him your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Nyquist. Nisos becomes a 4th Grade 1 winner on the year for Nyquist, who is also the sire of 10 Grade 1 horses in 2025. Only Into Mischief has more. Nyquist stands for a 2026 fee of $175,000 live foal. Learn about Nyquist and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
He's got such a great temperament and disposition that it made it easy to make moves like going from Saratoga to Keeneland, and then from Keeneland back to Saratoga to prepare to come here. And aside from his obvious natural talent and abilities, he's got a terrific mind to go along with it that really helps.
Brent and Ted Noffey. They have been together throughout, and now their noses apart. These two grays will come to the top of the stretch together in their bi-coastal battle, and they're into the stretch, and Ted Noffey has taken the lead from Brent with 1 furlong to run. And then comes Mr. AP third, Ted Noffey, there at the 16th pole. Brent is not done yet. He's coming back. Ted Noffey, Brent, Mr. AP's in at 2. Here's the wire. Ted Noffey did it. Ted Noffey wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile over Mr. AP. Brent was third, and Litmus Test was 4th.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. How about that soundbite you just heard from Todd Pletcher, and then followed right up by the call of Larry Colmus, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner. Ted Noffey getting the victory, named after Spendthrift General Manager Ned Noffey. That is one of the easiest mistakes in racing to make right now, especially for any broadcaster. You have to go really slow and think through which one's the horse, which one's the GM. And Ned, you're with me now, my friend. Congratulations on that fantastic victory.
Thank you very much, Mike. That was a lot of fun. Obviously going out there, a lot of good horses, a lot of good horsemen, and you never quite know if they're up to the task. But he certainly was Saturday.
Put me there with you, watching him battle through the lane. What was it like?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking. We were, I was pretty confident in his ability to finish. There was a stretch there where the horses looked like they were coming to him. And after the race, talking to Johnny, he said that the shadows across the track had caused him to sort of pull himself up just a little bit. And he's done a little of that when he took the lead, when he's taken the lead in past races. So it may have been a combination of things. But, as those horses came to him and he got into the shadow, fully into the shadow, you saw him re-brake. And then all of a sudden he'd opened up a length or more on the others. So, he gave us a few anxious moments down the stretch. Watching the race unfold, I was curious about where he was going to be. I was pretty confident that Brandt was going to go to the lead, and the question in my mind going into the race was he going to be right on his hip, or was he going to be sitting a little further off of him? And Johnny, that's where you really love having someone like Johnny on board, who just so good at making those calls in the middle of the race, and that's really the only way to do it. And so, Johnny did a great job placing him right where he needed to be. He never gave Brandt a break, and so it's very impressed with it. Obviously, a couple anxious moments down the stretch, but the horse just, the way he re-broke there and drew off, and then, as Todd said, wanted to go around again, was pretty encouraging. And I think in hindsight, it gives you some optimism for moving forward.
Johnny described that moment in the stretch when Ted Noffey got in front. He said it was more than an idle. He said he almost went to a gallop. And then you just heard in the soundbite right before the race call coming out of the break, Todd Pletcher talking about the physical ability of Ted Noffey, but what's even more impressive is his mind. And that's something that if you can get those two combinations together, a horse can be really, really special. And I think that's what we're seeing with this horse right now, Ned. Do you think that mind is what helped him to overcome, seeing that shadow and having to be starting to gear down, but then running again through the stretch to get the victory? Do you think that mind is what is helping him get through some of these, I'll call them young growing pains?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. He's still a young horse. He's still learning.
Yeah.
But he doesn't overreact to things, and he tends to take things in stride really well. So I agree with Todd completely. That's a big deal for him. And as Todd said in your clip, that's part of what allowed him to ship to Keeneland, back to New York, take everything in stride, out to Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. And I go back to his very first start. I remember watching him in the paddock at Saratoga and really being struck by how confident and at ease he looked in the paddock. He didn't look stressed. He wasn't wound up. He sort of walked in like he thought he owned the place. So again, that's just kind of one more indication of that really good mind and just a laid back horse. It allows him to, I think, I think a horse getting into a rhythm and staying relaxed in a race, their breathing is better, everything is better. And I think that's what that good mind does for him.
Ned, you and I are both from Western Massachusetts. We actually played baseball in the same summer collegiate league. You were at South Berkshire. I was at Post 68. You went on to play football at the University of Massachusetts. Did you ever imagine that you would have a Breeders' Cup juvenile winner or any Breeders' Cup winner named in your honor?
No, good goodness, no. And really, the only reason I played football is because I couldn't hit college fastballs.
I don't believe that for a minute.
No, not in a million years. I mean, I'm a very, very lucky guy in that this is, horse racing is something that I've been a fan of for as long as I can remember. I mean, the first Derby that I can remember was who was it? Dust Commander, and I was about, I think I was about 7 years old at the time. So it's something I've loved from my earliest days, and very lucky that I've been able to make a career out of this, but. No, we all talk in the game about naming horses after people, and it's sort of the kiss of death. I mean, heck, we twice tried to name a horse after Mr. Hughes, and the first one never made it to the races, so we were able to recycle the name, and that one we thought was a nice horse and just turned out not to be at all. So
hard.
It's really wonderful to work for people that would think to name a horse after me, and myself and my whole family has a wonderful relationship with the Gustafsons, as we did with Mr. Hughes before them, and so it's that's been a great experience, but then you just couldn't really, even in your wildest dreams, couldn't imagine that horse would then go on and be an undefeated 2-year-old and a pretty clearly going to be 2-year-old champion. So we're very, very fortunate to be in the situation that we're in.
Ned, I know the story has been told, but there are, I'm sure, people listening right now that don't know the story behind the name Ted Noffey. How did it all come about?
Well, the Blood Horse did an interview with me, and this had to do with me I'm part of something called the Kentucky Thoroughbred Farm Managers Club, and I was voted Farm Manager of the Year. And so the Blood Horse did an interview with me about that. This is back around about the time the horse eventually named Ted Noffey, right around the time he was turning 2. So the Blood Horse did an interview with me about the award, and then on Twitter they teased the article saying, don't miss our next issue with XYZ and an interview with Spendthrift's Ted Noffey. So it was just a misprint on Twitter. And my daughter actually tweeted back at them, so close. Of
course.
To their credit, they quickly corrected it. But in the meantime, it was either my daughter or my son, or both of them, sent it to Eric and Tammy Gustafson that own the farm, and they clearly they said to themselves, "Well, we know what to do with this," and so you fast forward a few months, and they named the horse. I mean, I don't remember when he was officially named, but I'm going to say it was sometime in late June or early July, something like that. And I just remember they didn't tell me they were doing it. And one morning I'm just checking workouts, and I get a notification that Ted Noffey has worked a half mile at Saratoga, and I had to even stop and look, double check and figure out who it was, which horse it was, and So anyway, so we've gone from there. But as it turns out, he's a pretty nice horse.
Yeah, he's a very nice horse. The son of your multiple champion sire, Into Mischief, who stands at Spendthrift. And then, of course, the damn streak of luck getting a ton of attention at the Fasig-Tipton Night of Stars sales this past week, selling for a sale topping $6.2 million. This is now a very regal pedigree, my friend.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that and the mare was absolutely stunning herself. And, there was really nothing to criticize. She was, almost flawless conformation, beautiful to look at. She's a 10-year-old mare now who's the dam of a multiple Grade 1 winning champion, and in foal to Not This Time, who's not a bad sire himself. So
he's okay.
He's okay. So. There was sort of what more could you want in a mare, and of course there was a number of different outfits that have been were over at Fasig-Tipton and now at Keeneland that are very willing to open up their wallets and spend nearly anything to get what they're after. So we watched her sell. We were there. We made some bids, but it very quickly looked like it was going to go through the roof. And so at that point, we decided to sit it out.
Well, I know you're very busy this morning. You're at the Keeneland sale looking for that next Breeders' Cup winner, the next champion that you can campaign, maybe even the Spendthrift colors. That would be really cool. But, Ned, before I let you go, what's the plan going forward now for what is surely the winter book favorite for the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of options with Todd, and Todd usually likes to take particularly with sort of the top horses in his barn, and that's I guess fair to say he would fit that criteria. He usually likes to take that Florida route. But that can involve a variety of races, but I think the main thing is we'll get him down to Todd's at Palm Beach Downs, where he'll winter, and just assess everything, and go over him with a fine-tooth comb, and then just figure out what exactly is the best route for him to take. So, it's. Any horses you're involved with, whether it's on the track or at the farm, everything is always sort of a day-to-day, week-to-week thing. So we'll see how things go and assess that, and then we as an approach we tend to lean very heavily on the trainers for their recommendations, because I think it's important to do that, because those are the guys that are in the barn, with the horse every day, and they're the ones that are seeing, they're so in touch with the horse, and that's it. So that's really important stuff to consider. So we'll see how things go, but in general terms, we would be looking at that Florida route, and that could take a couple different forms.
Okay, I lied. One more quick question, Ned.
Okay.
The conversation at this time of year going into the next season always comes back to development, and the next 3 months being critical in the development of a 2-year-old from his 3-year-old season. And,
Sure.
and oftentimes horses that Ted Noffey was beating this year catch up to him physically, mentally, and it makes it more challenging. What gives you the confidence that Ted Noffey still has plenty of upside and more room for growth?
Well, I'll go back to the we were referencing baseball earlier, and I'll go back to that analogy. We all played with, whether it was baseball or any sport, we all played with kids that when they were very young. I always call it the kid who's shaving in Little League. So sometimes these horses just mature really early, and you kind of have a sense that at their 2-year-old season might be their best window for them to get things done. And you never know with any horse moving forward how they're going to progress. So you start with that. But I would say that this colt does not have that look. This colt kind of has, he's got a big frame. He looks like, just in his size and shape, looks like a horse that will continue to fill in and fill out and has a chance to just continue to get better. We've talked about how good his mind is, but there still looks like there's some improvement for him mentally in terms of his professionalism. And then his running style, the fact that he's tactical, but he also has, his gallops out in every race have been so impressive that it gives you confidence that he's a horse that will handle that stretch out in distances that you get from 2 to 3. So those are things that, give you a good sense of what his future might be. But, this is never an easy game, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope he has a good winter and comes out running in the spring.
Yeah, if you're picking your team on the playground, there's no doubt Ted Noffey is going to be the first name that all the kids are going to call out and want on their team. He's not going to be waiting around as the last pick.
No, that's true.
Buddy, I appreciate it. Ned Toffey, General Manager, Spendthrift. Ted Noffey, his namesake, winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's going to be 2-year-old champion. He's going to be the favorite for next year's Kentucky Derby. Ned, all the best, my friend. We will be cheering in a big, big way.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for having me.
All right, appreciate the time. Ned Toffey here on HRRN. Always fun to catch up. And, yeah, it's neat. We've always had this kinship because we grew up in the same part of the country. We grew up playing baseball in the same summer leagues, not against each other. Ned's a couple years older than me, so he was slightly ahead of me. But then to see him go on and play football at UMass and now being here in the Bluegrass and Farm Manager of the Year, as you heard him talk about, and one of the most iconic farms in the history of our sport, being led by Ned Toffey and a great team out there. And congratulations to everyone involved with Ted Noffey. All right, coming up next, your Legends of the Turf segment, a short commercial break, and I will have more conversation about the Breeders' Cup World Championships when I come back right here on HRRN. But it is time now for your Legends of the Turf.
The World Championship of Thoroughbred Racing was on the line at the lovely, majestic Longchamp Racecourse just outside Paris on October 3rd, 1965, when the most prestigious Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe was about to unfold. And what a star-studded fielder was on hand to contest it. Meadowcourt from Ireland, Oncidium from England, Aniline from the Soviet Union, Ragazzo, Soderini, Diatomy, Reliance, Caliph, Marco Visconti, Francis Great Seabird, the Big Chestnut, Little Tom Rolfe from America, and Free Ride, who was an entry with Diatomy. A huge crowd had gathered at the glorious Longchamp Racecourse, which in all its splendor was among the aesthetically most beautiful in the world. It exuded class, and there was class aplenty on the racetrack to match it on this day. In the paddock, Seabird, the big local favorite, looked somewhat skittish and was sweating, as was Reliance, although it was a very warm day and the sun was beating down. Tom Rolfe, the American entry, was calm and created a stir among the crowd as he was ponied during the post-parade to the start. French racegoers had not been accustomed to that practice at their races. Oncidium, the English horse, was showing signs of nervousness. Aniline, the Russian entry, was very businesslike, calm, and quiet. At the starting post, Oncidium caused some problems, but the rest of the field lined up in perfect order. At the break, Marco Visconti went right to the front. Caliph picked up to chase, and Meadowcourt and Aniline were up near the front as well. Seabird, with Australian Pat Glennon in the saddle, and Reliance, with the renowned Yves Saint-Martin up, were well rated, in no difficulty, running 5th and 6th. They were obviously stalking the leaders, waiting for the right time to make that one big run. The going was on the soft side of Longchamp that day, and America's Tom Rolfe was showing definite signs of difficulty in handling it. He was far back and never really got into the hunt, so to speak. As the field rounded the bend and started for home at the top of the stretch, Glennon let loose on Seabird, and he chewed up huge pieces of turf with long, smooth strides until he veritably flew by the front quartet to assume command at the top of the straight to pull out to an open 6-length lead. That incredible display of speed had shot him forward as though propelled by a rocket. Saint-Martin asked his Mount Reliance for a move at the same time Seabird moved, but there was no way he could stay with the flying French chestnut. Seabird maintained the margin to win by 6 open lengths over the previously unbeaten Reliance, and it was another 5 back to Diatomy with Free Ride 4th and Analine 5th. Seabird had turned in a phenomenal effort, totally dominating the other 19 horses in the field, and he was now to be compared with the famous Ribot. After retirement from the racetrack, Seabird came to stand at Stud in America for John W. Galbraith, and as a consequence, his legacy lives on in the world of American racing. That performance, October 3rd, 1965 at Longchamp in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, was indeed a great moment in thoroughbred racing.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Department of Veterans Affairs is so innovative, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals who serve them with access to the latest technologies and remarkable benefits. Transform your future at vacareers.va.gov.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And AG Bullet is up into 4th now. 4 lengths off the filly. She's So Spicy, who's by herself at the top of the stretch. She's So Spicy, coming down to the 8th pole, a 3-length lead. Invincible Papa, Governor Sam next. Reef Runner coming late, caught him on the far outside, and AG Bullet, but there's no catching. She's So Spicy. She's so speedy in that sprint. She won it by 4 lengths on the wire. And then it was AG Bullet second, followed by Cottam and Reef Runner, and a final time of 55.24. As they come toward the top of the stretch, Ben Tornado, straight no chaser. Imagination swings up on the outside. American Stage is running a big one too. Ben Tornado turns loose with 1 furlong to run. Imagination second. Dr. Venkman closing outside, but Ben Tornado and Iran Ortiz have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint over Imagination and Dr. Venkman, then American Stage. Ben Tornado, it means welcome back in Italian, and welcome back to the winner's circle, Jose D'Angelo and Iran Ortiz.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. That's Larry Colmus with the call of the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint and the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Jose Francisco D'Angelo had himself a day at Del Mar last weekend. My goodness, 2 for 2 in the Breeders' Cup. He joins me now to look back on those very special wins. Kikito, as they call him. Jose, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for having me here today. Very happy about the last weekend.
How do you put into words winning back-to-back Breeders' Cup races like that? What's it mean?
You know, it was special because, like, people don't know, like, all the plans that we made, you know, like, to be there. You know, like, we spent all the half of the year out home traveling with these horses, planning, you know, like, the ultimate goal, Breeders' Cup, to run there. And, you know, win was, like, you know, like the best thing that can happen, like show us that we was right doing that, everything that we did. You know, I just feel so proud about my team, my horses, and everybody that made that helped me to make that happen.
You had been so close in the past. You were second in the dirt mile in 2020 with Jesus' team, your first Breeders' Cup starter. You came back. You were second last year with Ben Tornado in the sprint, ninth with Howard Wolowitz. You were knocking on the door to finally break through.
Yes.
Yes. Just tell me, Jose, what's that like?
Was amazing. That last year was, heartbroken as soon as, I saw Ben Tornado turning home on the lead and losing by nothing against Reino Chaser, a nice horse. So, when we scratched him at the Malibu last year, I just was thinking on winning the Breeders' Cup because, Breeders' Cup was the races that I came from Venezuela. We get every horse people together to just watch these races. And always I wanted to just come and watch the Breeders' Cup series, but now we are running them and we won two of those. It's amazing for me.
She's so spicy. Let's start with her. She goes wire to wire to win the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Tell me about watching her strut her stuff at Del Mar.
She was special since day one, working really, really good. So when she lost at Oakland, was her last race on third, I decided I have to see her, I started looking her deeply and I saw she moved she can give me more. So I put on the grass and was way different. I just worked at 3 furlongs, was enough to me move into the yellow ones and she won. And since last day, she never lose a game on the grass in America. She's losing in Ascot. So I spoke with the owners and I said, we have to make a plan and bring this filly to Breeders' Cup. So first, let's get into Kentucky Downs, and we have to run some great races to get in. And after that, let's go straight to Breeders' Cup, and that's worked perfect. That was the plan and worked.
She just put the field away right from the start. Was that the game plan going into the race?
Yes. We spoke with Ira. We know that AJ Bullet was inside us, so I just told him just break. All depends on how the other Grey filly breaks. You decide. If we can cross her and go to the rail better, that happened.
She wins by 2.5 lengths. That is the first of 2 Breeders' Cup wins for you last weekend. You always remember your first, right? So
of course,
describe the emotions when she does that, when she crosses the finish line for you.
As soon as I saw her on the lead, easy lead on the break, and I saw the hands of Ira, the Ira hands, just relax, and everybody asking. I know that we're gonna make that home. So so I can't describe it. I feel so happy. I was with my father and my brother we work like a team. It's like the result of all the hard work. So just happiness, on the to the limit, happy.
Yeah, your father, of course, a leading trainer in Venezuela before he came here. It had to be so special to be there with your family to share that moment.
Yes, was my family, my friends. So very happy about that too.
Okay, how about Ben Tornado, who gets his revenge in the Breeders' Cup Sprint? How cool was that? So cool, especially when we make the plan with him last year and worked perfect. He came like a favorite, so we prepped him all the year for that race. That's why he ran one time at Churchill, pointing to this race. A horse that he improved too much with after rest him. He grow mentality, the body, everything. So proud of him. So proud of him. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What was different about him this year? I know he ran a really good second last year, but what was different about him coming into the Breeders' Cup this year?
He grows a lot. He always was a big boy, but he grows a lot. also like mentality, like now he can sit and relax, he have to breaks and go because the race make that happen. Straight no chaser break a little better than him and the other horse inside too, so he have to go from the start. But if you watch the race at Churchill Downs, he was behind the speed, relaxed, and he moved when Iron want. So like that's the thing that he improved like his mentality. Last year he just want to get the lead no matter what.
He has so many layers to his story, not just what he's done here in winning the Breeders' Cup in 2025, but you look back to last year when you end up consigning him to the Keeneland Championship sale, right? And he sells for $1 million to Michael and Jules Ivorone. Just walk me through Ben Tornado's story.
Yes, Ben Tornado have so many stories, but the first one, like the owner we bought him at the OBS November, and the owner on the way decided to pinhook the horse. So we sold the horse for $170,000. The guys that bought the horse, they returned the horse because they make a blood test, and the horse got positive about bute or naproxen, something like that. When they returned the horse, they try later to buy the horse again, like a few hours later, and the owner Angel say no, we're gonna run him. That's why he have the Italian name Ben Tornato is welcome back. So that's why we have Ben Tornato.
I love it. That's so fantastic. What's next for both Ben Tornado and She's So Spicy?
We are going to give time, some time off, like light training, jogging, on the round pens here at Palmettos. But probably Ben Tornado going straight to Saudi. Okay, to the spring race. And She's Spicy, we are deciding yet her future. We are thinking on these races too. But like I always say, horses decide where they go. We're gonna give the time that they deserve. They was traveling the last weeks a lot, so we're gonna try to have them happy and ready for the next race. But sounds like Saudi for Ben Tornado at least.
How much time does it usually take, Jose, for the horse to tell you when they're ready for the next step?
Sorry?
How much time does it usually take for the horses to tell you when they're ready for those next steps?
The good horses, I always like to give at least 20-something days, 21 days to work them and see how they come back, like breeding, eating, all these things that you have to see them. Also, the horses, them, I know them very well. So, just seeing the way that they work and they return to the barn, I can see like if they are tired or if they need more time. So, that's what we're going to do. The good thing is like these horses, especially some horses, you need to keep them pushing and running because the layoff is not good for them. But especially these two horses, you can give time off and prep them well for the race. You can see Ben Tornado after 10 months won the race, and 7 weeks later he won Breeders' Cup. And She's So Spicy, after Ascot, she won an amazing race at Kentucky Downs, and Kentucky Downs September, and she back in November and win again. So, like these horses, they let you work on the way that you want and help them at the same time.
How did you celebrate after winning 2 Breeders' Cup races?
Oh, the plan was go out to have dinner, but we was so tired. It was a long week, so just we ate at the hotel and go to sleep at 8 p.m.
You know how many horse trainers I've asked that question to, and they kind of have the same answer? They're like so tired and so drained after the entire week, you don't have the energy to party.
No energy. 100% agree on that.
Well, on the bigger scale, I mentioned, you, your dad, natives of Venezuela. This is really special for the country of Venezuela, too, to have a guy like you and your dad having so much success.
Yes, Venezuela got crazy with these 2 winnings. Like, all my friends call me and they send me videos, like people celebrating there at the track, like like a World Classic, like the soccer. So people was so happy there. I got so many good messages from there, like the first Venezuelan trainer in Win Breeders' Cup. And, like it's just like a proof, like everybody, like, just you need to work hard, keep your, like the good things that you do, like, repeat, don't change nothing, work hard, learn every day, and everybody can be there.
We've seen so many good horsemen over the years come from Venezuela, whether it be trainers or jockeys. How come, Jose? What is it about the program in Venezuela?
People don't know, but Venezuela, the first sport on the country is the baseball, and you can see how many, so many good baseball players here in America. But the second sport in Venezuela is the horse racing. Like horse racing there is crazy. Like everybody knows you. The jockeys, like it's like almost like the baseball. So on the past, I think we had a lot of influence of Argentina. Some people from Europe go to Venezuela too and bring horses. And we have a good mix there, and that's why, you have good horsemen and good jockeys, because, like, at some point they run there at good level, and that's why.
Well, I can tell you, you definitely knocked it out of the park at Del Mar last weekend. You can touch them all and enjoy every second of those big wins from the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Jose Francisco D'Angelo, I really appreciate the visit, my friend. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I keep watching the videos, and the horse still winning, so that's good.
How many times have you watched those videos?
Oh, well, yesterday before sleep. So many times.
Well, keep watching them. Don't stop doing that. All the best with those horses going forward.
Thank you.
All right, Jose Francisco D'Angelo here on HRRN. What a special moment for he and for his family last weekend, where the turf meets the surf. All right, when I come back, I'll continue to look back on the Breeders' Cup World Championships. I'll tell you what's coming up in Hour 2 and in Hour 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Dear Vet Ticks, it was nice to spend the night with my daughter and other veterans. It's so humbling to attend an event when you feel appreciated.
I had a wonderful time with my family. Thank you for the memories, Vet Ticks.
Dear Vet Ticks, thank you for a great experience and for your support of the military and veterans.
Thank you so much, Vet Ticks. Our family has gone through a lot the last few years, and this gave us a nice break.
Every empty seat at a concert, game, or special event is a missed opportunity to say thank you to a veteran or a service member. By giving your extra tickets to Vet Ticks, you'll help America's heroes reduce stress, strengthen family bonds, and create a truly happy memory that will last a lifetime. So when you really want to say thank you for your service, give the experience, give the memory. Vet Ticks. Give something to those who gave. For more information on how you can make a difference, go to vettix.org.
Did you know? VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served.
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork, it was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're all in pursuit of Super Corridora, who turns for home in the juvenile fillies with a length and a half lead. Explora comes off the rail to try to run her down. A little bit of tight quarters in behind them with Percy's Bar and Meaning, but with 1 furlong to run. Super Corridora digs in. Explora trying her best to get by in the last 16th, but they're coming to the finish, and Super Corridora is a champion filly. She beats Explora on the wire. Then it was Percy's Bar in a photo with Meaning for third.
Once again, Larry Colmus with the call. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies going to Super Corridora, toting those iconic West Point Thoroughbred colors to victory in a race which is going to make it very interesting to see who ends up being voted champion 2-year-old filly of 2025. We will see. But Super Corridora will now have her sights, no doubt, set on the Kentucky Oaks next season. I'm sure the party was in full swing after that victory. By the way, you're going to hear from owner Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds to kick off Hour 2 coming up 9 o'clock Eastern. But I'm sure the party was in full swing, knowing the West Point folks right after that victory. And if you're in the process of putting together your corporate parties, your holiday parties, which I'm sure many of you are right now, take a look at Derby and Dance Party video horse racing. It's something you can add to your party. It's really, really cool, and it's become incredibly popular with so many major corporations who are building this into their holiday parties. It's a lot of fun. So whether you're hosting a corporate party or even your own personal horse racing watch party or any kind of party, the fully customizable Derby and Dance Party video horse racing is a Grade 1 winner. I promise you, it'll be a Grade 1 winner with all of your guests, and it's going to take your party to a whole new level. Horse racing knowledge is absolutely not required to do this, and no party is too large or too small. You can learn more about making your next party a Grade 1 winner by visiting derbydanceparty.com. That's derbydanceparty.com. Or you can call them directly to book your party and learn more, 844-MY-PHILLY. But when you go to their website, derbydanceparty.com, you're going to see videos of some of the other parties. You can get a look at exactly what Derby and Dance Party video horse racing can do for your corporate event, for your holiday party. Make sure you check them out right now. They're great people, and this is a really, really cool thing. All right, I mentioned Terry Finley coming up 9 o'clock Eastern. Donnacha O'Brien, 9:21 Eastern. He'll look back on his first Breeders' Cup victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. Dean Reeves will talk Tattersalls at 9:40. Dean has been in the game a while now, and he's had some really good horses, including Mucho Macho Man, who many of you will remember. But he has Porta Fortuna set to sell at the December sale at Tattersalls. Porta Fortuna, a multiple Group 1 winner. She's the star of the show there, and Dean will tell you all about that coming up 9:40. If you did miss anything that we talked about here in Hour 1, don't forget to check out the podcast whenever you get some time on our website, and you can do that too on your favorite podcast platform. If you're in Lexington or Central Kentucky for any reason, maybe you're still here for the horse sales, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you check out Tony's of Lexington. I tell you, every single week, it's the greatest steak you're going to have anywhere. I promise you that. The atmosphere is tremendous. The service is great. It checks all the boxes, as they like to say at the horse sale. Tony's does the same thing. Make your reservations now. They are on Main Street, right behind Rupp Arena. Valet parking right out front. And they'll take wonderful care of you. Get the Sir Barton. If you're a New York Strip fan, the Sir Barton is one of the best steaks you're ever going to have. Of course, the fillets are awesome, too. The ribeyes, the bone-in ribeye. That's taste. Now I'm hungry. Check out Tony's of Lexington. Make sure you do it. Tell them the Baron sent you in, told you to say hello. I told you that as much as I'm enjoying looking back on the Breeders' Cup with so many of my special guests for you here this morning, won't neglect the racing coming up later today. Vance Hanson is going to join me to kick off Hour 3 at 10 o'clock Eastern. He has the TwinSpires Triple Play. All three of the races he's chosen to handicap for you this morning are Grade 3 events. You have 2 taking place at Aqueduct this afternoon, and you have the River City Stakes at Churchill Downs. So Vance will look at those. You're going to hear from Kurt Becker at 10:20, his Stroll Through Racing History. Taking a look at Wajima this morning. That segment presented every week by our friends at Keeneland. And then at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer. Dale and Tim going to join me to tackle some of the hottest topics in the sport, including some of the topics at Breeders' Cup. A lot of controversy over some pre-race scratches. We'll talk about that coming up at 10:30 Eastern. Get Dale and Tim's opinion. So a lot of things to get to here on the Equine Forum. 1 hour down, 2 to go. Hour 2 kicks off right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, you know what to do. Check out the podcast on our website and on your favorite podcast platform. My conversation with Ned Noffey and with trainer Jose Francisco D'Angelo, part of the first hour of the show. And again, if you missed it, check out the podcast. Hour 2 kicks off momentarily with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds. We continue to look back on last weekend's Breeders' Cup. Of course, Super Corridora carrying the West Point colors to victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, a special moment for them and for all of the connections. Donnacha O'Brien set to join me coming up at 9:20 to look back on his win with Valentina in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. And at 9:40, Dean Reeves will be here to... He'll share some thoughts on some of his Breeders' Cup experiences, but he's also going to look ahead to the Tattersalls December sale and saying goodbye to Porta Fortuna, his multiple Group 1 winner. She will go through the ring coming up December 1st through the 3rd at that sale. That's all part of Hour 2. Hour 3 includes more content, including the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History, and Dale and Tim coming up with I Ask, They Answer at 10:30 Eastern. Impossible trivia question this morning. If you missed it, here it is again. Interesting question, too. Which famous game show host once owned a 724-acre horse breeding farm in Santa Barbara, California, and what was the name of that farm? You can tweet to us. You can send an email, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts, or you can just sit there quietly and wait for the answer at 10:55 Eastern. Challenge yourself. See if you can get this one right. I think it's a tricky question. All right, Terry coming up in just a second. Before I get to him, though, I want to pass along the poll question for you this morning. Breeders' Cup is in the rearview mirror, but that doesn't mean there's not plenty of racing left, some good racing left here this season. So with Breeders' Cup now behind us, which racing days are you most looking forward to next? The Clark Handicap Weekend at Churchill, Cigar Mile at Aqueduct, Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream, or the Kentucky Derby? Maybe it's the Derby. Who knows? But you got a lot of good racing before you get to that point on the first Saturday in May. You can go to our social media pages. You can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts. All right, without further ado, Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds. Man, congratulations on that spectacular win by Super Corridora.
So, Mike, always great to talk to the Baron of the Backstretch. I like that moniker. That's pretty cool.
Man, I appreciate it. I'm just going to come up with you as, let me see, Terry Finley, Grade 1 champion.
We don't have enough of them. They're rightfully so. They're very tough to win, but when you do get lucky and things fall into place, boy, it's a very sweet feeling, to say the least.
Yeah, the guru of grade 1s. We'll go with that. I don't know. But, Terry, I was so happy for you last weekend. And, she came into the race not as one of the favorites, but I know John Sadler said after the race he was pretty confident that she was going to run big, and boy, did she ever.
Yeah, we had a quiet confidence, Mike, but, I said to somebody, too, when you got to the Breeders' Cup, especially if you ship in, it's not an inexpensive endeavor. So you got to think long and hard before you put a horse on a plane or a van to go out there. Right. Because most people come away and they're disappointed, even if they hit the board on those races. You got to really have a legitimate shot to win. And we thought we did. but we knew that we needed to take another jump forward. And, this filly did, and I thought, there were some really, really good fillies in there. So we felt pretty good coming out of there that we had run a good day on the right day, or we had run a good race on the right day.
Okay, put me there with you. Tell me about watching her every step of the way. She got to the front. She never looked back. But what was it like being there watching in person?
Yeah, so I said to someone also, I really don't talk to our trainers about tactics, right? I don't want them to be thinking about trying to tell me something that they think I want to hear. So I knew that she would be forwardly placed. I wasn't aware that John had told the jock to, if he had a chance, to force the issue. So that was my first thought, is obviously that this was planned, and the strategy was to go to the lead and to let them come catch us. So, Philly went fast the first part of it, went 45 and change, but I liked the way she was traveling. But even then, for a 2-year-old filly, only the second time going 2 turns to go that fast, I think the majority of times you're probably going to back up. But she did. She kept going. She dug in. I think the rider was able. I thought Hector was able to give her a little bit of a breather going into the far turn and around that turn, and that probably helped us through the lane as everybody was trying to get to the wire.
Explorer was gaining slowly at the end, but it never looked like Super Corridora was in danger of losing the lead. As an owner, I know you might not agree with that statement. You were probably worried right until the wire came that Explorer was somehow going to find a way to get past her.
Yes, and we watched from the viewing stand, which was right up front, so you don't have the advantage of watching it on the TV and really having a little bit of a better perspective. So you're absolutely right. With those angles, you just never know, right? Just like when they're coming on the outside and they hit the wire and the camera kind of shifts a little bit. We were worried about that. But listen, I mean, they're top class fillies. They're the best fillies in the country at that particular time. So you knew you were going to have to battle everybody to get to the wire. It was an interesting race. I talked to Danny Gargan the other day at the sale. I felt bad for him. He had done a really good job with that filly, but she stumbled out of the gate and the jock just took good care of her. So, and everybody in between. I talked to Ben Colebrook. That filly ran really well. She finished third, but she had trouble getting through on the inside. She had some traffic there. So just an interesting race. I thought it was one of the races over 2 days, one of 14 or 15 that really captivated our industry. I thought it was a really, really good broodmare. Not broodmare. I thought it was a really good sale, or race, I should say. And I just thought the 2 days were really well put on. And, I know a lot of people throw the obligatory, the Breeders' Cup. They did a great job. But I thought this in particular, the crowd was great. The vibe was really good. And the accommodations for owners and trainers and everything else, it just seemed like an example of a Breeders' Cup that is really, really clicking on all cylinders. And we, as an industry, I believe, should appreciate that. I know we're very easy to get to the point where we knock a lot of things in our business. I think far fewer times we step back and we say, that was really well done. So that's what I want to say today is that the Breeders' Cup, well done. Really one of the shining examples of, in our business of cooperation, of collaboration, and of doing things right and putting on a world-class event. So I'll get off my soapbox.
When Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin join me for the final segment of the show at 10:30 Eastern, I ask, they answer. One of the questions I am going to ask them is Super Corridora now the horse to beat looking ahead to the Kentucky Oaks? Nobody better to ask than her owner. Terry, is she?
Well, Yes, I think she is. She's the de facto, right, winter book favorite for the Kentucky Oaks. But, I always keep in mind now, you got a lot of really good, big, stretchy fillies that maybe have run once or twice and had a little issue at the beginning of the summer, all those different reasons, but they're Curlins and they're not this times, and they're Tappets and they're fillies that want to go a mile and an eighth and just get started going a mile and an eighth. So, yeah, we feel good, but, we know that the whole dynamic is going to change, a good number of times between now and the first Friday in May.
You purchased her as a yearling from the Denali stud consignment at Keeneland September. What was it about her as a youngster that led you to say, okay, we're going to write the check? She looks really good.
Yeah, so, of course, everybody knows David and Gordo and his team. They are very prominent advisors. They're David's our bloodstock agent. We've been together since 2017. So I think we get along. We get along, obviously, but our outlooks are very similar. So I think far fewer times now than in the past we would disagree. And he happened upon this filly. We knew she wasn't going to bring $1 million. The gun runners were really, really selling well, but she's not a big strapping filly, but very athletic, very balanced. So, we were both drawn to her when David put her in front of me. And we knew that we wanted a really solid prospect at that price level to go out to John Sadler. So, and as they say, the rest is really history. But, we sent her to Ocala. She went to Dr. Barry Eisman's place, and Doc did a great job with her and got her out to John like in May and started the process. So anyway, it's easy to look back on the ones that are successful and say they were athletic, they were balanced, we love them, this and that. But, in our game, you just got to keep trying. You just got to keep buying horses. And we got lucky with this one, so we're very proud of that.
Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds, with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Terry, after the race, you were interviewed, and you mentioned that with West Point Thoroughbreds, you're a partnership business, and you were very proud for all of the partners involved with Super Corridora. Tell me how that works. I want to touch on that for a minute. You go to the sale, you purchase a horse for $400,000. Do you immediately start reaching out to prospective partners saying, hey, do you want to get involved with this horse?
We do, very quickly, right? Because, Mike, we buy our horses first. And so what we want to show people is, listen, you're never going to have to buy into a horse that you don't want to buy into. Some people like colts, they like fillies, they like particular pedigrees. So that's one of the things that we show people is we put our money where our mouths are in terms of buying these horses. So there's never a situation where somebody's locked in. And then, one of the biggest owner who took a leg was a significant owner in a flight line, Bob Gardner, and Andy Wilfong is another. He's a tech person, has a big company in Colorado, and really getting into the business, and really has spread his investments around with any number of our companies. So, he's doing it the right way. And that's one of the things that we like to show people is, yes, we'd love for people to stay with us, but there are plenty of people who are doing really good things in their business that have come through, our partnership as well as others. But they've got educated initially in the game through a partnership. And that, I think people are starting to realize that, partnerships are the way of the future. I'd like to say they're the present too. They're not just the future; they're the present. And so it's a great thing overall. Anytime we see a partnership run and be successful on the big stage, that helps our business. That helps our industry in a big way, I believe.
What also helps is when new owners get involved and they have success right off the bat. It really helps engage them into the sport and keep their spirits up too, because let's face it, it can be a difficult game at times. Terry, this is your third Breeders' Cup winner. You've been involved with a Kentucky Derby winner. You know what it's like to compete and to have success at the highest levels. How do you put into words what it's like to own a horse that wins one of these signature races?
It's, look, this game is really based on ego and money and so many other things. And I'm serious when I say it drives home how humbling the business is, right? We paid $3 million for he's now a 3-year-old. All he's done is break his maiden, and he's on the farm. And he'll probably be there until the middle of 2026. Mm-hmm. And so you say, like, man, I was really wrong in that spot. So every once in a while, when you can look and see, like, hey, we were pretty right in this spot, it's a good thing, but it also drives home how darn tough it is. And so it's really, really cool. And it's a big part of this business, right? It's this ecosystem, and we talked about the sale before we jumped on. Like, I mean, in the last, 6 months, they've sold well over 10,000 thoroughbreds. So this ecosystem is gigantic. It's billions and billions of dollars. And so when everything falls into place, it's like, man, this is really good stuff. And that's what I say to that, getting lucky on a big day. It's really cool, and it's humbling.
What's next for Super Corridora? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, so she'll, she's already been back to a track, just jogging, fiddling around. So she won't run until 2026, and we'll take the West Coast path to the Kentucky Oaks if that is really in the works. I know John also said the Oak Lawn path, which is, really gotten a lot more lucrative in the last couple of years with that great program out there. So, we don't need to really run again before the end of the year. Obviously, the Starlet is a race that will attract some attention with the 2-year-old fillies out there. We're not going that way. So we'll probably run at the end of January into February to get our year started. And, we'll see if she's good enough and if she made the turn from 2 to 3, which some do, but plenty don't. So we're hoping that we're in the former and not in the latter.
Terry, before I let you go, Dean Reeves is set to join me in just a little bit here later in the second hour of the program. He is a huge Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, and his Ramblin' Wreck are having one hell of a football season. Your Black Knights at Army, not so much, but they're okay. Can they find a way to get past Navy this year?
It's going to be tough. I've seen Navy a couple times, and they have a very good offense. And, you don't really pay attention to them until they've played 3 or 4 games, but it's in Baltimore. So I know some horse people. We're going to take some horse people, which we're starting to do more and more. So if anybody really wanted to take their kids or themselves, I know it's on the bucket list for a lot of people, just let me know if you see me at the races or the sale. I'll be glad to help because I think it is a national treasure. But I mean, you're not going to get me to say on a national radio program that we're not going to be able to beat Navy, Mike. That's not going to happen. So, of course, the answer to that, but there's no better event, I think, in college sport than, especially college football, than the Army-Navy game. I know some people might differ and they might look at it differently, but just go to an Army-Navy game and you'll see what I mean.
It's special. I've had the opportunity to do it one time, and it is really, really special. Definitely well worth checking out if you do get the opportunity to do it. Terry Finley, appreciate the visit, my friend. Always fun to catch up, and all the best with Super Corridora. Congratulations on the win, and all the best with every West Point runner you're going to be sending out over the coming months.
Absolutely, Mike, and also really good luck on hunting. I know you're back in Kentucky for a little while, so good hunting over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Appreciate it, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, Mike. All the best.
All right, Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds here on HRRN. Okay, coming up next, you're going to hear from Donnacha O'Brien. He looks back on his win in the Juvenile Fillies Turf with Valentina. Dean Reeves still to come, 9:40 Eastern. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Ground support coming up on the outside of Celebrity Warrior. They move up alongside of Switch and Love. From the back of the pack, right behind the leaders, here comes Imagination the Lady on the outside. And gaining ground as well is Ultimate Love in behind horses. It is Ground Support in front with one furlong to run. Up the rail, here comes Valentina. And she's charging through, and Pacific Mission is closing too. But it's Valentina who rides the rail to win it. Valentina close for second. It was either Pacific Mission or Ground Support.
That's Larry Colmus with the call of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. It was won by Valentina under Oisin Murphy for trainer Donnacha O'Brien. Yeah, another O'Brien with their name in the Breeders' Cup record books. Very, very special for Donnacha. You heard him on Trainer Talk with me just a couple of weeks ago. And now, here he is, back with you on the Equine Forum, and he is a Breeders' Cup winner. Donnacha, congratulations.
Thanks very much, Mike. Yeah, it was a great day, special day. So yeah, thank you very much.
As you were just listening to that call coming out of the commercial break there, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I suppose just kind of reliving the race in my head. You know, it was a super exciting race. You know, even if it had nothing to do with the filly, the way she came down the inside. So yeah, it was a great call and a great race. So yeah, nice to hear it again.
Talk about that ride by Oisin Murphy.
Yeah, it was so good. We had kind of discussed beforehand the few things that could happen. I kind of knew that she was going to break how she did. Obviously, we'd done some stalls work with her at home, and you always hope that they're going to be fast. But you know, even if she's faster than what she had been, she was always going to probably break towards the back. And then from the draw, you know, Oisin and myself, we kind of thought if she does break slow and we get the opportunity to go down the inside, it's probably the place to be. And then, you know, when that did happen, kind of what we needed was a strong pace. And obviously the Japanese filly went off pretty quick in front. And when I saw the position that Oisin was able to get on her, and the pace that they were going up front, I thought we had a shot. And he was super cool on her. He took all the chances down the rail and made all the correct decisions, going for gaps. So it was a really, really special ride. He's you know, Oisin's incredibly talented.
You have the advantage of having been there and done that, Donnacha, as a former jockey, and you've ridden in the Breeders' Cup. You mentioned those little gaps that Oisin Murphy had to get himself into in what was a brilliant ride. Explain to people how that works. When you're in the heat of battle there, these are split-second decisions, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, you know, the hard thing is to be cool and wait for them to open when they're not opening it initially. You know, a lot of riders, you know, you're at the Breeders' Cup. It's a high pressure race, and you're on a filly that's traveling very well. The temptation is to go looking for gaps or trying to push horses out the way or trying to get yourself towards the outside. But the hard thing to do is to keep sitting and keep waiting, and keep saving as much fuel as you can, and have faith that they are going to open in time. That's what he did, and then when they did open, he had the filly underneath him, but it was just really, really cool, and to have the confidence to just keep sitting when nothing was opening is what made it so good.
Describe the moment when Valentina crosses the finish line and you realize you've just won your first Breeders' Cup race.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to believe in the moment. We came there as outsiders. I didn't expect for her to win a Breeders' Cup, but I suppose when Precise was pulled out, it really opened up the race. So when she was unfortunately scratched, I think everyone in the race felt that they had a chance. But to be honest, from maybe 3 or 4 furlongs out, I thought we had a big shot. I just knew by the way she was travelling and the way she was coping with the race that she was going to be bang there at the finish.
When the cameras on NBC turned to your box right after the finish of the race, you were there with your dad. I think your brother was there with you as well. Was he in the box with you?
Yeah, we were all there. It was me, my dad, Joseph, my brother, Sarah, my sister, Tara, my brother's fiance, my own girlfriend Rachel, and my sister's boyfriend Jasper. We were all there together. So the only one of the family that wasn't there was Anna. She was at home. So shame she wasn't there, but obviously nice that everyone else was.
Yeah, your dad was over the moon. I know your brother was thrilled for you for the victory. This is truly a family affair. Talk about being there with your dad and with your brother and your entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both Breeders' Cup winners, so it's nice to check it off the list. We've been probably my 3rd year bringing horses to the Breeders' Cup. We've had a few run well in defeat, but people can go their whole life without ever having a runner at the Breeders' Cup. So to have a winner and to have my name on the roll call, I suppose, is it's quite satisfying.
Your brother had a horse in that same race, didn't he?
Yeah, he had the favourite, and Queen of Hawaii. I think she went off favourite in the end. She broke even a bit slower than us and probably found the track a bit sharp, but ran on well into I think 5th or 6th. So look, we compete against each other on a daily basis. So there's nothing unusual there. We're pretty much used to it.
Your dad continued to set the bar even higher with his win the following day, making him the all-time leading trainer in Breeders' Cup history in terms of wins. How special was that moment?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Obviously, it had been well publicised that he was close to the record. So to obviously do it there at Del Mar was great. I think Bob has since joined him on 21 or whatever it is. So he's going to be motivated to hold on to that record and train many more winners there.
Donnacha, tell me a little bit more about the connections of Valentina, the owners.
Yeah, well, most of them I got to know through Porta Fortuna. They've all been really good that they reinvested with me since Porta. We bought this filly in Arcana as a yearling. Myself and Mark McStay of Avenue Bloodstock both really liked her, and Mark has a good relationship with Steve Weston, and he sent the filly to him, and Steve liked her. And we bought her for $100,000 there. And then Dean Reeves, who also owns part of Porta Fortuna, took a leg of her at the time. And then before the Breeders' Cup, some more of the partners that were in Porta Fortuna also bought into her just before the Breeders' Cup. That's Medallion Racing, and Lissa and Phil McNulty. And a few others as well. So, they're all really, really good people. We're lucky. I'm very lucky, really, from Porta Fortuna that I've got to know them all. It was fantastic.
Donnacha, I remember when we talked a couple of weeks ago on Trainer Talk, and you talked about Havana Anna. who ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And you said you thought that she was probably your best opportunity to win a Breeders' Cup race, but this is a funny game. She doesn't show up with the effort you were hoping. Valentina does. You talk about a roller coaster of emotions, right?
Yeah, exactly. She was, from you have a few runners there, and you have one set of connections that are obviously thrilled, and then you have another set of connections that are deflated. So, but look, as I said, I've been coming to the Breeders' Cup since I was a baby, and every year there's races that don't pan out, and more often than not, you come away disappointed than you do happy in this game. You train a lot more losers than you do winners. It didn't happen on the day for Havana, but she remains happy and healthy, so she's still an exciting filly for next year. But as anyone that's had horses in this game knows, it goes wrong more than it goes right, and you have to take it on the chin and move on.
Speaking of next year, what's next for Valentina?
There was a good chance she was going to stay in America originally, but when she won, the connections were kind enough to allow me to take her home. So I suppose we'll probably map out a similar plan to what Porta did as a 3-year-old. Should probably start in a Guineas if we get quick ground, but I think that's very important to her. And if she's not going to get that, we maybe go on to Royal Ascot. But I'd say Royal Ascot will definitely be a target for a coronation. Whether we get a run before that or not, I'm not sure. And then maybe one more run. And I know Steve is keen to come back to the US for the Queen Elizabeth II stakes, I think in Keeneland that Lush Lips won this year. So that's definitely on the radar, and I'd imagine whatever happens at the start of the year, she'll see herself back in the US at some stage next year as well.
Well, Donnacha, congratulations on what was a very special weekend at Del Mar, and all the best going forward with Valentina, Havana Anna, and all the horses you're going to be saddling over the next several months. Best of luck, my friend. Keep it rolling.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pretty appreciate it.
All right, appreciate the visit. Donnacha O'Brien joining me from Ireland here this morning, getting a chance to look back on his huge win with Valentina in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf on Breeders' Cup Friday. 24 years after his father saddled his first Breeders' Cup winner, Donnacha O'Brien is now the third from that family to saddle a Breeders' Cup champion, and congratulations to all of those connections. All right, when I come back, we'll continue to look back on the Breeders' Cup from last weekend. We'll do that, and I'll tell you what's coming up in the third hour of the program. Plenty more coming your way on a loaded Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The 26-day fall meet at Churchill Downs begins Sunday, October 26th with live racing through Sunday, November 30th. The fall meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 1 p.m., except for Thanksgiving Day, which gets underway at 11:30 a.m. The road to the Kentucky Derby goes through the Churchill Downs fall meet twice, with the $200,000 Street Sense on Sunday, October 26th, and the $400,000 Kentucky Jockey Club on Saturday, November 29th. And you won't want to miss the 27th running of the Claiming Crown, which will be held Saturday, November 15th, featuring some of the top hard-knocking veterans in North America. For more information about the fall meet, visit churchilldowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
The stray, just over a quarter to go. Fallen Angel from Soprano on the inside. Mama's Girl into a challenging position is Porta Fortuna. These 4 to 1 across the track, 2 up on Elang-Elang, and then Magical Sunset and Wendler's next. The stretch from rain to rain. Staying on the outside is Vespertilio. In front now is Porta Fortuna, and away she goes from Fallen Angel Soprano. Porta Fortuna is the winner from Fallen Angel Soprano, and Elang-Elang finished off well.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. A big win for Porta Fortuna back on September 14th of last year. As a matter of fact, it was a third consecutive Group 1 victory. That came in the Matron Stakes at Leopardstown, and now we will see her go through the ring in the December sale at Tattersalls. And Dean Reeves has had so much success in the sport of thoroughbred racing. He, of course, involved with the ownership of Porta Fortuna, and he is with me now here on HRRN. Dean, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing really well, my friend. You know, Porta Fortuna, just one star that you've had the opportunity to be around, but there have been so many others. But let's talk about her. How brilliant was she?
Just listening to that call of her winning that race is just crazy. She's one rare filly. She was spectacular. We started to see early on the determination that filly had, and the great training job that Donnacha did and his staff. You could just see that in the race when she would sit and wait, and then when she got the cue, she just put her effort in there and just was so consistent and such a exciting filly to be a part of.
How difficult is the decision to enter a filly of this caliber into a sale, knowing that you're going to have to say goodbye?
It's tough, and we have a great partnership, and everybody, none of us really were in a situation where we would get into breeding of that caliber of a horse. So, we felt like that, we had the greatest run some owners could have with a horse to win 4 Group 1 races, win the coronation, meet King Charles, the whole deal. And we just felt like, maybe it's time for us to pass the baton to somebody else that I know will take good care of her, whether they race her next year or put her in the foal. She's going to be a special filly for years to come, but we just felt like it was our time to pass the baton.
Tell me more about meeting King Charles. What was that like?
I tell everybody in Georgia, that I'm the only person in Georgia that's ever met King Charles, and so far nobody has called me out on it. And so that was so much fun, and I didn't realize it until we were about to go up to get the trophy. And the gentleman comes up in all the regalia that they wear there, and he says, "So sorry for the delay, but we're waiting on the king." And I was like, "What? We're waiting on the king?" And it was like, "Well, what do you do?" And so they gave us a quick introductory into how you go up there and say hello to King Charles. But there was nothing any neater than being up there with the King of England. He was delightful. We had a nice conversation, and it was just one of those lifetime moments that for us in Georgia, that's pretty special.
How do you say hello to King Charles?
Well, you don't. If he says hello to you, then you get to say hello. So you go up. If he reaches out to shake your hand, you can after you bow. And then if he starts a conversation, then which he did, and we started talking about Porta Fortuna and the race. And then, of course, he said, why don't we move up a little bit closer to the podium because the photographers like it when I'm closer up. So I said, well, that works for me. So anyway, it was just surreal.
Now, what a great story. And you mentioned Porta Fortuna's trainer, Donnacha O'Brien. He ends up getting his first Breeders' Cup victory last weekend with Valentina. We just heard from him in the previous segment, Dean. He's such a nice kid, right? He's a young man. And here he is joining his dad and his brother now as Breeders' Cup winners.
Yeah, I mean, he and Joseph both are delightful. What wonderful gentlemen they are, and so young, but they have been brought up in that business. And for them to go head-to-head with their father, because that's who you got to beat. And they just both of them do a great job. They understand this business. They know horses when they see them. And it's just been really, really great to work with both Donnacha and Joseph.
You have another horse that you ended up purchasing at Tattersalls, I believe, the Big Con, British bred, and just had a big win this past week at Woodbine in the Gray Stakes. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That was, we decided with Christoph's help last year, and it was actually as I think back, it was the last time I was with Christoph. Several of us, Stephen Rocco and Peter Searles, we went to Tattersalls, and I never dreamed it. We ended up with 5 horses, and we just, it was a lot of fun, and I never thought that'd be the last time I'd be with Christoph. But we did pick out the Big Con, and, he wasn't early where he was running early in the year, but we brought him back. He was with Christoph, and then now, of course, Miguel. And then Miguel said, well, let's send him to Presque Isle. And he had a tremendous race there, winning by 8 or 10 lengths or so, and became the first TDN Rising Star from Presque Isle. So I thought, boy, that's a big deal. And the guy really, that was a reach for whoever nominated him for that. But I was so happy to win the Grade 3, so that made it look like the guy knew what he was doing. For him to go up and win the Grade 3 was just a real thrill, too, to have horses that you spend the time and effort and money and go over there and buy, and then you wait a year to find out how they are. So it was nice to see that one in that group so far looks to be a pretty good horse for us.
What was it about the Big Con at that Tattersalls sale that jumped off the page?
Well, he was not the top pick for us, but mainly because he was immature. And I'm going to take credit for this, I personally liked him, and we thought, he was immature, but he had a long, big body to him. He had a lot of leg, and I felt like in due time, this would be a horse that certainly could get a lot of distance on turf. And so when we go into these sales, and it's quite different in England, it takes them a bit longer to run through the pricing, but we just thought, well, we'll go in there and see what he sells for, and we ended up buying him because we felt like I believe it was around 150,000 guineas or so. Thought that was, in the scheme of things, a pretty good buy, and we knew we would give him some time. So down at the farm, Jimmy and Nellie, the Gladwell group down there, they did a great job bringing him along, and it's just one of those that worked out.
Tattersalls has been good to you, Dean, but also good to your horses that you sent to Woodbine, because you have Breathaway, another British bred Tattersalls purchase, who ends up winning the Dance Smartly Stakes on October 4th, and then second in the Golden Cova. We saw her last weekend. Tell me more about Breathaway.
Oh, what a special filly. Oh, I mean, she's really coming into her own. That's another one we decided to pass the baton. We sold her here this week at the sale at Keeneland, and we wish the new owners the best of luck with her, but they have got a really nice filly. And she's at the top of her game, so I think they're going to do real well with her. But Tattersalls is just first-class outfit. I mean, they just do everything right. They put on top horses at their sales, and I've just found that if you want to get some good horses for your stable, it's to go to the Tattersalls sales, and they treat us, as good as you can be treated with all that they do for us to get us there and help us with all of our needs when we go in there to go to their sales. And it's just been great to build a relationship with everyone at Tattersalls.
Dean, you mentioned the late Christophe Clement and how instrumental he was in helping you with these purchases at Tattersalls. How did Christophe convince you to make the trip there and to start buying horses at that sale?
Well, I think that Christophe, over time, he learned where those horses come from. What are the proper places if you're going to be buying yearlings? Where's the quality? And so when we talked about that, for us to move more into maybe less numbers, but try to get a little better quality. Because quite frankly, my competition over here, that's where they're going to get the best of the best. And, you know, I always felt like Christoph had a real thumb on the pulse of where to buy these horses and what to pay for them. Whether he went to Arcana or Tattersalls sale or the golf sale, it just made sense to have him guide us, the partners that I generally partner with, just guide us in where we needed to go and what we needed to look for. And I tell you, when we went over there with Christoph, you would have thought it was an absolute homecoming for the king over there, because everybody was so thrilled to see Christoph. And every horse we went to, he knew the individuals. They would run over to say hello. We could hardly look at horses for him stopping and talking to everybody there. So that's how special Christoph Clement is, and how regarded he was in this industry.
His son Miguel has now taken over his dad's operation, and you are working with Miguel closely. He trains the Big Con. And what's it like being around Miguel and working with him?
It's a lot of fun. You know, I'm able to banter back and forth with Miguel, and we laugh a lot and cut up. And he has not only is he a great horseman and he works his butt off training, he's just a lot of fun to be around. And we do dinners all the time. Did his trip, his bachelor's trip down to the Turks and Caicos together with a bunch of his crazy friends, and had a good time doing that. So I'm really proud of Miguel. He has stepped up to the plate, and he has gone out there and is working hard. He's racing all over the country, putting horses in good positions, and he is winning some races. So he's just done a tremendous job. He's got a great staff. And couldn't be happier to be, you know, part of the Christoph Clement team and the Miguel Clement team.
Visiting with owner Dean Reeves here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires, looking ahead to the Tattersalls December sale. And you've heard him talk about the fact that he's purchased many horses at Tattersalls now that have gone on to do big things here in the United States as well, and even up in Canada. Dean, you and I got to know each other, and your lovely wife Patty and my wife Michelle all got to know each other through your run with Mucho Macho Man, and that was a special run. How much has your approach to owning racehorses changed since you burst onto the scene, if you will, with Mucho Macho Man?
Well, I think the first thing I've realized is how difficult it is to win those kind of races. We really didn't realize at the time for Mucho Macho Man to run in the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, and then 2 years, you know, and finish second the first time in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then come back and win the Breeders' Cup Classic. We now look back on it and realize what a feat that was for that horse, and for what Kathy Ritvo did to get him you know, to finish a second and a first in the Classic. So we've learned a lot about how difficult it is at a higher level. We've learned and tried different things with, do we look at numbers or do we look at quality? And just, it's a constant shuffle of the deck almost with the stable. And I think over time, too, with the way the pricing has gone, you've got to be so diligent now in order to stay in the game and be competitive. We've found it's just tough. So we've learned a lot. We've changed our thought process many times. Been fortunate to have a lot of good people helping us. And the rest of it's luck.
Yeah, I mean, you were a new owner in the game at one point. What advice do you give to a person that comes up to you and says, hey, Dean, I love what you've done throughout the years. I want to get into horse racing. What's the best way for me to go about doing it? What do you tell a new owner?
You know, I would say to sit down and kind of figure out your goal to start with. Is it more? Are you going to be in races for claiming horses? Is that your passion to run and be at that level and buy claiming horses? There's some people that make have a great stable and win a lot of races by buying claiming horses or buying, those types and winning those races. Or is your goal, to go to Royal Ascot and run? So I think once you realize that and you can put some dollar figures with it as to what your budget can be, then find some people that you're going to have some fun with, because the business is going to be tough enough as it is. It's going to beat you up. It doesn't matter whether it's an owner of just because you got more money maybe than the next guy or this, that, and the other. The business is equally difficult for everybody. And so I think you've got to look at it as, this is fun, this is who I like to associate with, and this is who I want to do business with. So I know that's a mouthful, but I don't think there's just any one specific thing that, that I could say to somebody. But I think most importantly for me is Patty and I have fun, and as long as we're having fun, we're going to stay after it.
Yep, there you go. Dean Reeves, ladies and gentlemen. Dean, before I let you go, you're a proud Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. How about this football team?
How about my Jackets? I'm going to tell you what. I said a year or two ago, we got the best coaching staff in the country. Wouldn't trade a one of them for anybody. And Coach Key and his staff are going to continue to have this program on the upswing. I've been so excited to go to the games. My grandson and I go to every game, and we just have a great time. And I couldn't be happier, but the Ramblin' Wreck is back.
No, they certainly are. I don't know if they find their way into the playoffs this season, but they are really, really good. And that arrow definitely pointing up, my friend. Yes, it is.
And, time's going to tell. These next three games, that's going to make the difference. But we've got we're pointing toward those Georgia Bulldogs, so they better watch out.
Dean Reeves calling out the Georgia Bulldogs right here on the Equine Forum.
Sir.
Dean, always appreciate the visit. It's always fun to catch up. Say hello to Patty, and we will talk again soon. Keep it rolling.
I'll do it, Mike. Always great to be on the show. Thank you, and catching up with you. So all the best.
All right, we'll talk soon. Dean Reeves here on HRRN. One of racing's real good guys. And if you can't tell from listening to him, a super nice guy, super genuine, but a guy who's had so much success in the game. And I liked his advice when he was, when I asked him that question about a new owner. And it depends on what level you want to play at and where you want to be. And I think the key is to associate yourself with good people like Dean has done. A lot of people, as you heard him say, have helped him along the way. And that's the key. Get yourself surrounded with good people, good organizations, and figure out what level you want to play at, and you can have a lot of fun in this game. And Dean's still having fun after all these years. I absolutely love it. You know who else has a lot of fun? Is the folks at Millridge. And we were talking about the horse sales at Tattersalls, and Millridge, of course, among the leading consigners every single year. But what's really fun is talking about their stallions, and I think that's why they have so much fun, because they go to work every day and they're looking at Oscar Performance and Casa Creed and Aloha West. I mean, my goodness. Oscar Performance has been so good for them. He had another exceptional year, led by Grade 1 winner World Beater, who was owned by Pin Oak Stud. And then they have Casa Creed. I call him the Iron Horse. Get this, Casa Creed, he won 4 Grade 1 races. He started in 15 Grade 1 races. That's remarkable. And then they have Aloha West, Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. We know how his babies are being received. People love him. We're going to get to see his first runners coming up in 2026. So make sure you check them all out at Millridge. If you're in town for the sale, stop by and say hello. They do a wonderful job in the stallion roster. Really, really good. When I come back, I'll take a look at a few dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend, and I'll tell you what's ahead in hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join me every Friday afternoon to dive deep into handicapping the races. We'll cover the live action from some of the biggest tracks in the country, talk to some of the major players in the game, and hopefully make a little money along the way. You can also call the show to share your opinions, ask a question or two, or maybe just vent about some bad beats. It's Betting with Bobby every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, online channel 999, or streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And the field turns for home. It is Favorite Trick, the leaders. They come to mid-stretch. Under a hand ride beneath Pate, Favorite Trick. Now he says go, and Favorite Trick responds in an instant. He opens up by 3.5 lengths. Dawson's Legacy, the Canadian second, Souvenir Coffee third. Here is an undefeated champion, Favorite Trick, and he ran like a champion today, winning by 5. And a pair of long shots, finishing second and third, Dawson's Legacy and National Lord.
Tom Durkin with the call. Favorite Trick winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Remember him? That occurred November 8th, 1997. Today, the anniversary of that spectacular effort. It concluded a perfect 8-for-8 two-year-old campaign for Favorite Trick, who would later be voted the 1997 Horse of the Year. Yeah, a date in racing history to remember for sure. There are a couple from yesterday, too, that I want to pass along. Yesterday, November 7th, 1998, the day that Skipaway finished 6th to Awesome Again in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was denied the title of racing's all-time leading money earner because of that finish. Skipaway retired after the race with earnings of $9,616,360. Second to Cigar, whose earnings totaled $9,999,815. Yesterday, also the anniversary of jockey Richard Migliori gaining his 3,000th career victory. He won aboard Bell's Appeal in the second race at Aqueduct. That was November 7th, 1998, the same day as Skipaway, finishing 6th behind Awesome Again in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Congratulations to the Mig on that milestone, and happy anniversary. Those are dates in racing history as they apply to this particular weekend. Hour 3 coming your way shortly here. And I want to remind you, if your local station is leaving us at this time, you can keep listening to the third hour of the program nationwide on Sirius XM. You can do it, too, streaming at horseracingradio.net. And if you missed any portion of the show, you can check out the podcast. Poll question. Remember to keep weighing in on the poll question. With Breeders' Cup in the rearview mirror, which racing days are you most looking forward to next? The Clark Handicap Weekend at Churchill, Cigar Mile at Aqueduct, Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream, or maybe it's the Kentucky Derby for you. Whatever the case might be, go to X at HRN, weigh in there, go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. We have covered an awful lot of ground throughout the first 2 hours of the program. Plenty more to come, including the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim at the end of the program with I Ask, They Answer. All of that right ahead. Hour 3 after we pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Ted Noffey there at the 16th pole. Brent is not done yet. He's coming back. Ted Noffey, Brent, Mystery Peas it at 2. Here's the wire. Ted Noffey did it. That's the Gold Diamond. It's charging down the middle of the turf course and goes by them all. And the Gold Diamond has taken the lead. And at 25-1, and the Gold Diamond wins the turf.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Citizen Bull and Nisos and Citizen Bull, side by side and stride for stride. Who's it going to be, Nisos or Citizen Bull? In the dirt mile, it is too close to call. Scylla turns for home in front. She's got a 2-length lead coming to the final furlong. Nitrogen is second, Clico is third, Regaled is put in a bit on the far outside, but Scylla's running away under Junior Alvarado. Scylla by 4, Scylla by 5. Scylla so strong in the distaff. She won it for fun. Journalism is second. Sierra Leone, Fierceness, one off the rail. Still forever young to catch. Fierceness is coming. Sierra Leone and Journalism, they're coming to the finish. And it is forever young. Celebrate Japan. They've won the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Yeah, what a weekend last weekend, huh? Racing continuing later today. Big day at Aqueduct, big day at Churchill with grade 3 races on both of those cards. We're going to talk to Vance Hanson to kick off hour number 3 with the TwinSpires Triple Play momentarily. Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History, presented by Keeneland, comes your way at 10:20, and at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer, presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. We're going to look back on some of the main storylines from Breeders' Cup, and Dale and Tim will weigh in on what is becoming a recurring issue with veterinary scratches right before the race. We saw it with White Barrio. That was a big one. Ken McPeak not happy about his 2 horses coming out. We'll talk to Dale and Tim about that issue at 10:30 Eastern, so stay tuned. Poll question for you this morning. With Breeders' Cup in the rearview mirror, which racing days are you most looking forward to next? Clark Handicap, that weekend, the entire weekend really is fantastic at Churchill. The Cigar Mile at Aqueduct, Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream, or maybe it's the Kentucky Derby. Maybe you don't care about all that other stuff. You're just dialed into the Kentucky Derby already. Let me know your thoughts. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the show, you missed a lot. You missed Ted Noffey. Well, Ned Toffee. I knew I was going to do that at some point. Ned Toffee talking about Ted Noffey, his namesake in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. You missed trainer Jose Francisco D'Angelo, trainer Donnacha O'Brien, and owners Terry Finley and Dean Reeves. Head back to the website. Check out the podcast when you get some time. That's horseracingradio.net, and you can do that, too, on every podcast platform. Just type in Horse Racing Radio Network, and you'll find us there, and you can listen at your leisure. Time now to welcome Vance Hanson to the program. He has this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Glad to be with you again.
Yeah, excited to talk a little racing on this Saturday program, but also excited to look back on the Breeders' Cup with you here for just a minute. We heard that montage to open the third hour of the program. Larry Colmus with the call of those Breeders' Cup races. What were some of the top performances in your opinion?
Well, we start with the Classic. The scratch of Sovereignty took a little bit of luster out of the race. We all kind of wanted to see how he would stack up against older horses, but what a thrilling finish by the top three finishers from last year, repeating that. I didn't think I would ever see that actually in my lifetime, that three horses would finish in the top three in the Classic in consecutive years. So that was fun. We had just a wide variety of some favorites winning, some long shots coming in from Europe to win some of the grass races, including Ethical Diamond, who's just basically stunned a world-class field of grass horses in the turf, and is basically his first start in a group event, or a group or graded event. So lots of highlights at Del Mar, and we look forward to another great renewal next year at Keeneland.
Yeah, one of the performances that jumped off the page to me was that win by Scylla. And you talk about redemption for Bill Mott, right? Here's a guy that loses Sovereignty, the horse I think still likely to be voted Horse of the Year, loses him to an illness, and now here's Scylla, who just powers home to dominate the distaff.
Exactly, and that was a performance I did not see coming, but Junior Alvarado played it smart, centered to the lead right out of the gate, especially when some of the other speed had poor starts, and she just took control of that race and just destroyed that field. It was very impressive.
Yeah, not shocking that she won, but the way she did it was what I think surprised most people.
Yeah, and we had a 3-year-old filly named Nitrogen, and we had Torpedo Anna didn't make the race. So the race on paper, I mean, if you didn't buy into Seismic Beauty, it looked like a field where anything could happen, a race like anything could happen. And Scylla found her best form from last year, and we saw what we saw.
Vance, let's kick off this week's TwinSpires Triple Play with the 7th race at Aqueduct. You're going to focus on race 7, race 10, and then go to race 11 at Churchill. All three of those races are Grade 3 events on this Saturday programs. The Grade 3 Hill Prince, mile and an eighth on the turf course, goes at 2:39 Eastern again as the 7th race on the program at Aqueduct. Let's talk about that race. Who wins it?
I was drawn to the number 1 Noble Confessor for trainer Todd Pletcher. As a maiden last year, as a 2-year-old, Noble Confessor showed some pretty high class. He missed winning the Pilgrim Stakes by a neck to Zulu Kingdom, and then came back and was beaten only a little over 2 lengths by Henri Matisse in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. So despite him not winning in 4 starts, I thought it was a pretty good 2-year-old campaign. Came back this year, ran second at odds on in a maiden event, but and then got caught in off the turf renewal of the Pennine Ridge at Saratoga. But ever since, I think Noble Confessor has kind of gotten himself back together. He finally broke his maiden at Saratoga over the summer. Didn't run so well in the Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs, but that's kind of a tricky course for horses that haven't tried it before. And then came back last time with a good second in the Jockey Club Derby, going a mile and 3/8. So I like the cutback here, like the fact that he's run well at Aqueduct in every one of his attempts here, and he adds blinkers here, which I think will probably help him focus a little bit more. So Noble Confessor to me looks like a pretty good shot here in the Hill Prince.
Inside post, no concern?
No, especially with the blinkers added, I think he should be able to break well and show some good positional speed.
Todd Pletcher, Kendrick Carmouche, the team on Noble Confessor, number 1 in race number 7 at Aqueduct. Vance's top pick there. Vance, how about race number 10, another Grade 3? That's the Grade 3 Long Island, which is also a turf race, mile and 3/8 on the lawn, and a pretty well-balanced field going to the post in this one.
Yeah, I think so. And we just spent some time talking about Scylla and Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. And I think their horse in here, Immensitude, a French import, French bred, I should say. She's been running in America quite a while, but Immensitude to me looks like a mare that could take this field wire to wire. She looks like she has the best speed in this race, and last couple of starts, she's shown that speed. Allowance Company, she didn't quite last two back, but last time she took an allowance field wire to wire going 1 mile and a 16th. But I think this filly has got plenty of distance ability as well. If you dig a little bit deeper into her past performances, last year she ran second by a neck in the Weah Stakes going 1 mile and 3/8 at Aqueduct, and then followed up with a third place finish in this very race. That was back when she was kind of an off the pace stalking type of horse, and she lost to a pretty good filly in there named Be Your Best, who went on to be a Grade 1 winner. So now that she's kind of reverting to a front-running type, I think this is the kind of field where she could make a lead here and hopefully last the entire route.
Yeah, on paper, she appears to be the quickest one early, which could lead her to a lone front-running trip.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, looking at the race and looking at her competition, I kind of envision that kind of a trip for her. And as we mentioned, Mott and Alvarado pulled off a similar thing at Del Mar in the distaff last week. So hoping for history to repeat itself in the Long Island.
Yeah, they've been tough to beat together the past few years. What do you do with Way to Be Marie, the Rob Atras trainee?
Yeah, talented filly. I'm kind of curious whether she did seem to be a filly that really enjoyed the Fairgrounds turf course last winter. Not that she can't carry her form elsewhere, but she definitely fits this race, but I'm kind of wondering whether she might be more of a win contender over the winter coming up in New Orleans.
All right, so number 6, Immensitude, the top pick for Vance in race 10 at Aqueduct. Let's move on to Churchill Downs. Race 11 is the race you've chosen. That's another Grade 3, the River City, another turf event as well. 1 1/8 on the lawn, 5:55 Eastern, the post. Who wins the River City?
I'm looking at the outside horse here, Taking Candy for Cherie DeVoe, 8-1 the morning line. I think that's a pretty good price on this horse. Relatively lightly raced this year. He wound up winning the Fairground Stakes, a Grade 3 back in February. Didn't get the best of trips, stepping up in class to the Turf Classic on Derby Day, but then ran a really good second in the Wise Dan in late June to Brilliant Birdie, who we all know is very much a horse for the course over the Matt Wynn turf course at Churchill Downs. So pretty good form there. And then last time, his last race in early August in the Kentucky Downs Turf Mile Preview Stakes, he was up against horses like Epic Ride and Encino, who were part of a very blistering pace, but they outfinished this horse, and so it seemed like the turf course was carrying speed a little bit better than the Churchill course might today in the River City. So I think perhaps the way the course was playing that day might have been against Taking Candy. He enters this race rather fresh. He's got some class credentials behind him, and to me, he's just kind of an appealing horse at 8-1 in this race.
And always seems to run well at Churchill Downs. We'll see if that continues coming up later today in that River City Stakes. Again, the price should be right on number 12, Taking Candy. Vance, let's recap. Race 7 at Aqueduct, you'll go with number 1, Noble Confessor. Race 10, you'll go with number 6, Immensitude. And in race 11 at Churchill, number 12, Taking Candy. I'm quite certain that even though the Breeders' Cup is finished, TwinSpires and Briss still have plenty to offer horse players. So what's going on this weekend?
Absolutely. Some of the offers we have at TwinSpires, you can earn some additional wagering points if you focus your attention on some of the tracks. You'll get 3 times points betting the Gulfstream Park card today, and then 4 times the points if you bet some money at Aqueduct on Sunday. And then we also have a $3,000 hit it and split it offer on the $3 late pick 3 at Churchill Downs, and that occurs on every Churchill card, every Sunday card at Churchill during the fall meet.
All right, Vance Hanson, TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance, best of luck with those races and every race you're going to bet this weekend.
Thanks, Mike. Good talk to you.
You got it. You too. Don't forget you can play those races in every race you are going to bet with TwinSpires. Impossible trivia question for you this morning. The answer coming your way at 10:55 Eastern, but if you did miss it earlier in the program, which famous game show host once owned a 724-acre horse breeding farm in Santa Barbara, California? And what was the name of the farm? Think about that one. Again, the answer coming up shortly toward the end of the show. That's a good one from Lee Delapina here this morning. All right, coming up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History, a story about Wajima. And then I Ask the Answer with Dale and Tim, still to come, 10:30 Eastern. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of EIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with the product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in Heart of Bluegrass Country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was a world record-priced yearling at the Keeneland sales, which later became a U.S. champion 3-year-old male, despite not running in any of the spring classics. His name was Wajima. Foaled on March 8, 1972 at breeder Claiborne Farm in Paris, Kentucky, Wajima was by Bold Ruler out of Iskra by Lahar. His sire was inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame in the U.S., while his dam was a product of several generations of French breeding on both the top and bottom sides of her pedigree. Consigned to the Keeneland Summer Sales in July of 1973 by Claiborne, Wajima, unnamed at the time, appeared as hip number 291 in the catalog. Secretariat, also by Bold Ruler, had won the Triple Crown a little over a month earlier, and Wajima was from Bold Ruler's final crop. And Claiborne was selling homebred yearlings from its legendary farm for the first time in 21 years. Add the fact Wajima was a spectacular individual in terms of his appearance and conformation, and most everyone expected him to top the sale. Trainer Steve DeMauro, a former jockey from Camden, New Jersey, was at the sale that evening, never dreaming he would become Wajima's trainer. But Lexington bloodstock agent Jim Scully was organizing a syndicate to buy the colt, and he had been a client of DeMauro's. And he told DeMauro, "We will buy this colt, and you will train him." It was Tuesday, July 24th, 1973. The Bold Ruler colt entered the ring, and auctioneer George Swinebrodt opened the bidding. Tom Cooper of the British Bloodstock Agency in Dublin struck first, bidding $500,000. The crowd gasped, as the world record for a yearling at the time was $510,000. Scully immediately raised the bid to $600,000. Uncharted territory. The colt remained in the ring for another 90 seconds, and with no further bidding, Swinebrodt sold out to Scully for what was a new world record. The members of the syndicate, which Scully represented as agent in addition to himself, were Zenya Yoshida and Shinichi Yamamoto of Japan, as well as Harold Snyder of Dover, Ohio, and Jim Walsh of Alexandria, Louisiana. They named the colt Wajima in honor of a Japanese sumo wrestler, sent him to John Soesby at Claiborne to be put through his early training, and then shipped him to Florida to train throughout the winter. In the spring of 1974, Wajima was sent to New York to DeMauro, who described him as not big, not small, but with everything in the right place. DeMauro added that the colt had white socks on each rear foot, a little white on his right forefront, and a tiny star on his forehead. And DeMauro added, when he runs, it's about as graceful as a bird flying. Wajima's career debut was delayed because of shin issues until September. He won his first 2 starts, both at Belmont Park, before running 4th in his first stakes try in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. A runner-up to Canadian Horse of the Year Longelure in the Laurel Futurity ended the juvenile campaign. After opening his 3-year-old season in January of 1975 with a 5th-place finish in the Bahamas Stakes at Hialeah, Wajima sustained another minor injury and went to the sidelines. DeMauro decided to err on the side of caution, and he skipped the Triple Crown Series to bring Wajima back to the races in mid-June. Wajima won back-to-back races at Belmont Park to begin his comeback before finishing runner-up in both the Saranac and Dwyer handicaps. Through his first 9 career starts, he was still winless in stakes competition, but that was about to change. On July 19th, Wajima earned his first stakes win with a track record performance at Bowie Racecourse in the Marylander handicap at 1 mile and 1/8. He then went to New Jersey and won the Monmouth Invitational at the same distance as the 3-5 favorite. Next came the 106th running of the Travers Stakes at 1 1/4 miles at Saratoga. The result was a 10-length victory for Wajima as the odds-on favorite before a crowd of 32,000. A little over 2 weeks later, on Labor Day, he added a win in the Governor Stakes at Belmont Park at 9 furlongs by a neck over Kentucky Derby winner Foolish Pleasure in front of 45,000 spectators. But the race which sealed championship honors for Wajima came on September 13, 1975, in the Marlboro Cup at 1 1/4 miles at Belmont Park. Wajima defeated reigning Horse of the Year Forgo for his 5th consecutive stakes win, with Foolish Pleasure finishing 5th and Belmont Stakes winner Avatar crossing the wire in 7th. All told, Wajima beat 6 rivals with a combined 55 stakes wins that day, including older horses. Wajima would conclude his racing career with runner-up finishes in the Woodward to Forgo and the 2-mile Jockey Club Gold Cup to Group Plan before being syndicated for $7.2 million, a world record at the time, and sent to Spendthrift Farm in Lexington, Kentucky for stallion duty. He would later stand at Stone Farm in Lexington, where he would die in August of 2001 at the age of 29 after siring 26 stakes winners from 17 crops. Named Eclipse Champion 3-year-old male of 1975, Wajima became the first horse to win the Eclipse for that division despite not competing in any of the U.S. Triple Crown races. Only 3 others have replicated that feat, namely Tisnow in the year 2000, Arrogate in 2016, and West Coast in 2017. DeMauro once said of Wajima, quote, "He stayed cool and he kept me cool and calm. It's pressure to train a horse like that, but it's also an honor to have that kind of pressure," end quote. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. And remember, all of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments are available via podcast on our website. And don't miss our Weekend Stakes preview show with Bobby Newman and Bob Nastanovich, which is also available right now at horseracingradio.net. I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim coming up next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with the pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Fierceness in behind horses. Sierra Leone is right in contention too as they make their way to the top of the stretch. And they're into the stretch in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And Forever Young turns for home with the lead. Journalism is second. Sierra Leone, Fierceness, one off the rail. Still Forever Young to catch. Fierceness is coming. Sierra Leone and Journalism, they're coming to the finish. And it is Forever Young. Celebrate Japan! They've won the Breeders' Cup Classic. Sierra Leone was second. Fierceness was third in a final time of 2 minutes, 0.19 seconds.
Larry Colmus with the call. Forever Young turning the tables on Sierra Leone and Fierceness in last Saturday's Breeders' Cup Classic. Was the runner-up effort enough to keep Sierra Leone in the conversation for Horse of the Year? Plus, Ted Noffey is a lock for champion 2-year-old. But which horse coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile will end up being most dangerous on the road to the Kentucky Derby? And have pre-race vet scratches crossed the line? Our thoughts are straight ahead on a post-Breeders' Cup edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Guys, we're going to have a lot of fun wrapping up the Breeders' Cup, but I want to begin with this. What a week for our man Dale Romans. Dale, we're going to talk about your dynasty that you've established in our showdown competition as you dominated it again this year. We'll get to that in a minute, but man, congratulations. You became a granddaddy this past week. Well done.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, we had a beautiful little boy. He came 3 weeks early, but he's good and healthy. He's already home. Yeah, me and Tammy couldn't be more excited for Jake and Kate and the journey they're starting.
Henry Marshall, right?
Henry Marshall Romans, yes. Marshall's my mother's maiden name and Jacob's middle name, and so they stuck with it. King Henry.
Wow. Almost the same weight as when I was born. 7 pounds, 15 ounces. I was 7'11", but if you had 7 pounds, 15 ounces in the pool, you win. Go cash your ticket.
Yep. 19 inches long, so he was a pretty good-sized boy for 3 weeks early.
Now, congratulations to you and Tammy and your whole family.
What do you expect the youngster to call you? I don't know yet. That's been a topic of conversation. My friend of mine the other day said he should call me the Bank. Because he knows I'll spoil him. I'm sure you'll come up with something good. Yeah.
I love it. Yep. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, congratulations. That's what it's all about. You know what else it's all about? Dale's Dynasty, as I call it, defeating Timmy and I in the Showdown 4 competition. Dale's personal Triple Crown, the third straight year he has taken it to us. He wins 88-64 over Tim. I finished dead last with 63 points. Timmy, you're lucky White Abario didn't run. I might have gotten past you for second.
You're lucky Sovereignty didn't run. Yeah, well, let me just tell you guys, and I'm just no knock to you, but it's really not that big accomplishment. It's like LeBron James playing in the G League.
It's really not much of a rivalry, is it, Dale?
Yeah, it hasn't become much, but dynasties are good. People like dynasties, and maybe we need to change it up and get like Todd Pletcher and Chad Brown to come in against me. Or maybe, I just think that congratulations to you on this, but I think you should be a little more humble. Humble? Come on, you know me better. You know me better than that. Life is good at the top, but you don't always stay there. Yeah, but you got to enjoy the view while you're there.
I like the idea of bringing in Pletcher and Chad Brown. I think that could be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll work on that for next year's competition.
Yeah, it'd be fun, but they can't win either. Bring them on.
Dale's already called them out. He's talking smack. Yeah, we're definitely getting Pletcher and Chad Brown as part of this competition next year. The Showdown 5 coming up starting in the middle of the summer next year. It'll be a lot of fun. But, Dale, enjoy it. Congratulations. You're a tough out, my friend.
Thank you. I'm going to have myself a Triple Crown trophy made.
Probably have a parade in Louisville.
Yep. Hey, that's Hambo at his best right there.
I love it. All right, let's dive into these topics, guys, and we'll start with our recap of the Breeders' Cup. There are several things to talk about here. Let's start with winners and losers. Who were the biggest winners at this year's Breeders' Cup, and who walked away as the biggest losers and or disappointments? Tim, you want it first?
Sure. Starting with the winners, I mean, I think you have to start with trainer Jose D'Angelo, who won 2 back-to-back races, his first 2 Breeders' Cup races. He won the turf sprint with She's a Spicy, and then he won the sprint 50 minutes later with Ben Tornado, who was second in the race last year. And Irad Ortiz rode both of them on his way to his Shoemaker Award. So you'd have to put those guys up there. Forever Young, you have to put him in there, finally getting his U.S. win, after the close finishes he had in the Classic last year and the Derby last year. I put me in there because I'm a winner because I got to stay out here for another week and stay out in California for another week. Just got home on Friday. So put me in there. As far as, I never would say there's a loser in the Breeders' Cup, because if you get to the Breeders' Cup, you're already a winner. But I think the biggest disappointment would have to be Sovereignty, spiking the fever and not being able to run. That was a tough one. And I'm sure Dale's got his own personal disappointment, which I'm sure he'll talk about. Yeah, I'd say the biggest winners for the whole day were all the racing fans in Japan. They came over here and got their victory. A well-deserved horse ran super. He looked great training all week, and congratulations to them. They're really getting that program going. It used to be just automatic throwouts when Japanese travel around the world, but no more. And the biggest disappointment was, for one, Bob Roski not getting in the juvenile turf. But I might be a crybaby, but I am. They should have put him in. He got left out. I think he would have been very competitive in there. And all the horses that got scratched that didn't get to compete.
And we're going to talk more about those scratches and the regulatory veterinarians and that situation. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. Timmy, that great call last week on Scylla, by the way, in the Breeders' Cup distaff.
Oh, thanks. That was, it just shows you the highs and lows of the game for Bill Mott. One day he's, sitting on top of the world with the Breeders' Cup Classic champ, doesn't get a chance to run. And he was high on Scylla all week. He thought the key was running in the Spinster and, stretching her back out after she was sprinting during the summer. And she had that 46 workout, maybe but it tipped everyone's hand that, she was sitting on top of a big one. And, boy, she ran lights out in that distaff, and good for them.
Dale, after the disappointment of not getting into that race with Bob Roski, how do you regroup? What do you do from here?
How do you what? I missed you.
How do you regroup? What do you do with the horse from here?
I don't know. That's the problem. You're running out of 2-year-old races sprinting on the turf. So, I don't know. I just brought him home. We'll train on him a little bit. I think he's a quality horse. He's got a big future ahead of him. And even if I don't run him the rest of the year, I'll have a good 3-year-old next. So,
any chance we see him on the dirt, stretching out on the road to the Derby?
That may be down the road, but not right away. Tammy keeps telling me to run him back on the dirt, and so I probably will. It was a good shot. There's a sprint stake for 2-year-olds here at Churchill. I could put him in there. I might try that on the dirt. Mm-hmm. I own him myself, so there's no pressure. I got one partner, and he's my good friend, so we got no pressure. We got a good horse. We'll figure out where to run. Dale, can you just talk a little bit about, I know I talked with you out in California about it, but about the massive disappointment that it is. You come all the way out here, and then, it's like you get to the party, but they don't let you in the front door. That was pretty sad. I mean, I didn't think there was any chance of us not getting in, so I shipped him on the first plane going out there with 4 entries. And, there's a horse that broke his maiden by 10 at Saratoga, won a stake at Saratoga, gets beat a half a length in a really rough race at Keeneland, and they don't consider him one of the top 12 2-year-old turf sprinters. I really think that we got the worst of it there. I think we should have been in. I think the odds maker even made us a lower price than a bunch of horses in the race. So, but it is what it is, and I went out there anyway and made a vacation of it and had a good time at the Breeders' Cup. Got to see you, Tim. Hung out a little bit. So I ended up having fun anyway.
Well, Dale, everywhere you go, you're going to have fun.
What's that?
Everywhere you go, you're going to have fun.
Yeah, I make fun. I make a party everywhere. It's a good, especially out there. I mean, even though I work in the business, I'm still a major horse racing fan, and to see all those good horses train every morning was as much fun as going to the races.
Yeah.
Dale, you started by talking about the Japanese and what a big win it was in the Classic for Forever Young. Well, Sierra Leone finishes second, so Forever Young turns the tables on that rival from last year. Is his second-place finish enough to make Sierra Leone a serious player in the Horse of the Year conversation, or did it simply make Sovereignty a lock for that title? What do you think?
I think Sovereignty's a lock. I think, Sierra Leone's been a great horse. I mean, how close is he from being a superstar? And, a couple of lengths in quite a few races, and he's a generational horse. I know he's been a lot of fun for his owners. He's been a great racehorse, but I think Sovereignty locked it up when Forever Young won. I think he had to win to put pressure on him. I think he still would have. I still think Sovereignty would have been Horse of the Year, but it would have been more of a conversation.
Yeah, I agree with that. Going into the Classic, we were all talking about it out here, and media-wise, we thought the only horses that could win Horse of the Year with Sovereignty not running would have been Sierra Leone, Mind Frame, Fierceness, if they would have won the Classic. I think they would have had serious consideration for Horse of the Year, but Sovereignty, I think his resume is just too good. He didn't face older horses, but he won 5 of 6, and he had the Travers, the Belmont, the Kentucky Derby. And Sierra Leone's only win came in the Whitney, and, as Dale said, I mean, his record speaks for itself. 14 career starts, he never finished off the board, and he was running in big races his whole career. A pleasure to watch him run because he always brought it. And Mind Frame and Fierceness, those two for Todd, he expected big things. I mean, that you could put that one in a disappointing category too, because he was, he had those were his 3 big guns in the Breeders' Cup there. I think the only horses he ran was Mind Frame, Fierceness, and Aquarian in the Classic, and he was 3rd, 5th, and 8th. So, but yeah, Sovereignty got to be a lock. The last NTRA poll came out, and Sovereignty was listed on top, and he got 24 of the 28 first-place votes, and a lot of those people, myself included, vote for the Eclipse Award. So I would think it's gonna be Sovereignty as Horse of the Year, and I don't think it's even going to be close.
I think it's Horse of the Year when he scratched. I think that any of those horses you talked about had to beat him to be Horse of the Year.
Well, another horse that is a lock to be voted champion in his division this year is Ted Noffey. But, guys, which horse coming out of that Breeders' Cup Juvenile is going to end up being most dangerous on the road to the Kentucky Derby throughout 2026? Dale, what do you think? Which horse, maybe other than Ted Noffey, is going to be most dangerous?
Yeah, I don't know coming out of that race who it'll be. I think there's still some superstars out there that's still going to emerge, and like there always is. But right now, Ted's way ahead of the class. I mean, he impressed me, and he looked good doing it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the horses ran behind him. We're not even talking about come spring, that there's going to be a whole new group of them that are going to start showing up like they do every year.
Tim, there were only 5 horses behind him, right? There was only a 6-horse field, so not many horses to choose from. Did anybody else strike you as being a horse that could have an impact next year?
Going back to the original thing here, Ted Noffey would be the horse that everyone would be considered going forward as the most logical. But, of course, we go back to the history lesson on this. The juvenile winner has not fared well in the Kentucky Derby. It's only been Street Sense and Nyquist that have won it, and there's only been 4 others that even ran in the race that won the Derby. And this field was the 6-horse field in the juvenile. That's the smallest field they've ever had in the Breeders' Cup. And Baffert's Brant, the $3 million horse, was, a buzz horse, and he didn't run horrible. But you look back at this past year's Derby, the top 3 finishers, Sovereignty, Journalism, and Baez, had never ran in the juvenile. And Baez had not even run yet. Journalism had 1 start. Sovereignty had 3 and was put away for the year. So I think there's a very good chance that maybe the horses we're talking about in the springtime we haven't even heard of yet. So definitely Ted Noffey is ahead of the class for sure. But I don't see anything behind him. Maybe Brant.
Tim, how about the Kentucky Oaks? Is Super Corridora now the horse to beat on the road to the Kentucky Oaks?
I like Terry Finley a lot. I'm going to say no. I mean, she surprised in that race at 8-1. I mean, she broke her maiden. And again, you look at the historical significance of the juvenile fillies. There's only been 2 fillies that have won the juvenile fillies that have gone on to win the Oaks, Open Mind, Silver Bullet Day, and that's yesteryear. So I think Super Corridora had her day in the sun. I think she's a nice filly, and she's going to do some good things. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be on the first Friday in May, but it's such speculation. You don't know. I mean, we're just in November now, so I'm going to say no. That
I might be a little biased because I'm so close to Terry and Debbie Finley, but I liked this filly. I liked the way she ran, and you know what I like more than anything is that John put her in off of a maiden win. So he must think an awful lot of her. That's not his style. That would have made me bet on her. If you look, she was 15-1 the morning line. She only went off 8-1. So there's a lot of people that jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt she ran great.
I asked Terry that question earlier in the program. I said, is she the horse to beat on the road to the Kentucky Oaks? And he said, yeah, I think she is. Right now, I think she is.
Definitely champion 2-year-old filly.
Yeah, she's going to be good to watch and see how she develops over the next few months. Guys, let's move on to the next topic. How about the late scratches we saw once again by the regulatory veterinarians? Once again, a hot topic following this year's Breeders' Cup. Among the notable runners not allowed to run were both horses trained by Ken McPeak, including Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan. You had Tamara and Sweet Azteca in the Filly and Mare Sprint, and Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile contender White Abario scratched in the post parade, which has led his owners, C2 Racing Stable and Gary Barber, to acquire counsel and request a full investigation into that decision. This is not a good look for any sport, let alone horse racing, but any sport, when you have your stars suddenly not allowed to participate. So, guys, I ask you, what on earth is going on here with these scratches? Dale?
Well, the worst look than the horses being scratched is the horse getting hurt, especially on a big day, but any day. And, there's a lot more scrutiny on these horses, especially when they get to the Kentucky Derby, Triple Crown races, Breeders' Cup. It's a tough situation, but I always have to go with the vet. If they see they're off, maybe the trainers don't see the forest for the trees. A lot of times they see them the same all the time. Like you say, it's a tough situation all the way around. It's hard on the racetrack and the racing. They don't want horses scratched. But I know the veterinarians are doing what they think is best in protecting all the horses, and so I have to stick with the vets. I know that's unpopular right now, but there's a lot. We're looking at a lot of statistics here in Kentucky about vet scratches because it happens on a daily basis and a lot more than it used to. And the numbers are playing out that usually the veterinarians are usually right. I mean, how long it takes horses to get off the vets list to get back to even running, or even if they come back to running. These vets are always walking a tightrope. They do not want to scratch a horse, but they do not want on their conscience if they feel like one's not 100%, letting it go out there and get hurt. I like to say, if we're going to be wrong, let's be wrong with them healthy in a stall than laying on a racetrack.
How about the decision by C2 Racing Stable and Gary Barber now to acquire counsel and request a full investigation? Dale, is this something we're going to see more of, especially if it turns out that they find out White Abarrio was just fine?
I mean, what are they going to investigate? The fact is, there was a veterinarian that thought he wasn't moving perfect, and if he wasn't moving perfect, he wasn't going to be allowed in the gate. I don't know what they investigate. I mean,
I think there's two different categories here too when it comes to the veterinary scratches at these big events. You have the ones where, okay, you come out earlier in the week because they don't like what they see, but I think once you go through so many of the vet processes, if you will, leading up to the actual race, and you get into the post parade, and then they say, well, hold on, from a distance we don't like what we're seeing. I think that's where really the major sticking point is. Do you agree?
No, because they're not right from a distance. They're right on the racetrack, and they were giving the horse every opportunity to move good when he got out there. If he's borderline going in, would you rather him just scratch him there or give him the opportunity to go ahead and see how he warms up on the racetrack? If he comes out, if he warms up good, let him run. I mean, we don't know about the horses that they're not talked about, that they've watched all morning, that they've watched jog in the mornings, and they decided we're going to wait and see how he moves in the post parade. And he's been fine, and they let him run. So if you want to just start scratching all of them early and not let anybody have the benefit of the doubt and a chance to get on the racetrack and warm up and warm out of it, no, I think that's a problem too.
Tim, what do you think?
Well, Dale just about nailed everything on the head. I mean, I feel for the trainers that, have worked all year to their horses with the ultimate goal being the Breeders' Cup, shipping across the country in many cases, and then, not being able to run. I mean, and it's not like and I understand the frustration. I mean, I talked to Kenny McPeak a little bit after blackout time was ruled out, and he was frustrated with the whole deal because he thought the horse was fine. And I go back to, sometimes trainers, they'll have a horse whose gait is a little off, and it's just them. And they're fine, but I get the fact that we don't want to see any injuries on the racetrack. That would be horrible. And, it's a tough situation that the vets are in. I mean, shouldn't be viewed as the bad guys because they're doing their due diligence to make sure everyone is safe. But I do feel for the trainers that didn't get a chance to run because they had a vet scratch when they thought their horse was perfectly fine. I think it was Richard Mandela said something like, well, they saw something, I didn't see it, but he had to live with it. So it's a hard situation. It's not a good look, obviously, for the sport when these big name horses are ruled out. But these vets are doing what they think is the safest thing to do for the sport. So I'm not going to argue with that.
Dale, let me come back to you here for a minute. If you have a horse that's entered in, let's call it a Breeders' Cup race because that's what we're talking about. You get them there. They go to the post parade. The regulatory vet says, nope, you can't run. You're scratched. The horse comes back to your barn. What is the process from there? Do you immediately start doing different tests on that horse to try to confirm what that vet told you they saw?
Yeah, I think you should. I don't know if everyone does. I try to. I mean, I've had some scratch that I disagreed with them on, and to tell you the truth, most of the time at the end of the day, they were right. And, yeah, you go a little deep dive into diagnostics and try to find out why they're not moving perfectly. Like you were talking about White Abarrio, I honestly believe they watched him all week. They were watching him close. They gave him an opportunity to get in the post parade. If they weren't giving horses opportunities, like you said, they shouldn't, he would have been scratched anyway. He wouldn't have made it to the paddock.
Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect, but again, equine safety is always at the forefront and we're going to see how this whole situation with White Barrio plays out moving forward. But it's definitely a topic that's here to stay, and we're going to talk more about it, I'm sure, around these big events. Guys, let's move on to our good friend Nick Zito. And Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statements are right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Both of these topics submitted by our friend Tom in St. Louis, who emails the show and says, hey, you have the Bill Shoemaker Award, recognizing the top jockey at the Breeders' Cup each year. Tom says the time has come for an Outstanding Trainer Award. Is he right or wrong?
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Yeah, you're the trainer. What do you think?
I love awards. Let's get as many awards as possible. Let's call it, the D. Wayne Lucas Award.
That's exactly what Tom suggested. We should name it after D. Wayne Lucas.
Yeah, well, who else would you think of?
Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Some people would say, well, how would you do it? Because if you make it like that, you're going to get a Bob Baffert or an Aidan O'Brien or a Todd Pletcher or a Chad Brown that might win it every year because they're the ones that saddle the most horses. I know
same thing could be said for an IRAD, though. He's going to ride them.
Absolutely. But the point I was just going to make, I mean, it's in the history of the Shoemaker Award, I think there's only been a couple. Julian Leparoux won it one time. Flavian won it one time. There's someone else that won it one time, and it's escaping me, but Mike Smith has won it multiple times. Johnny V's won it multiple times. The late Garrett Gomez. It's going to be the big players are going to always win. But like this year, if they had a trainer award, it would if they went by wins. Baffert had 2, and so did Jose D'Angelo. But if they had the tiebreaker system, Baffert, because he ran so many more horses, would have had many more points by a mile, and he would have won the Shoemaker. But wouldn't you think that, the Shoemaker, the D. Wayne Lucas Award, as if we called it that. I think that, in a situation where maybe you have a vote, you get media people or something to vote on who was the best trainer rather than do it by points. Maybe that would be a way to do it. But for the most part, you're going to get the power trainers that are going to win that award every year. But like this year, D'Angelo could have been the guy that won it if they had a vote.
All right, well, how about this one then? Tom also says Aidan O'Brien and Bob Baffert, who have now surpassed the late D. Wayne Lucas in number of Breeders' Cup victories, Tom believes their records should have an asterisk, as Wayne won the majority of his 20 Breeders' Cup races at a time when Breeders' Cup consisted of only 7 races. Is he right or wrong on this one?
He's 100% right. If they had all these races, Wayne would have won a lot more. I don't even put an asterisk, but guys like him that love the game and know the game, they understand how big Wayne's number of wins is.
I'm going to go the other way on that, only because in Wayne's career, when he ended his career with 169 Breeders' Cup starters, which is 3rd all time. And, you look at some of the extra races like the turf sprint, the juvenile fillies turf sprint. Wayne, of all of Wayne's wins, all of Wayne's starters, he only started 5 horses in grass races. So the bulk of his work in the Breeders' Cup were in dirt races that have existed for the most part for the whole time. I think that Wayne did just fine, thank you, during his career, and I don't think there needs to be an asterisk a la Roger Maris for what he did.
Interesting questions, Tom. Appreciate it. We're going to bring back Nick Zito for that segment again next Saturday's edition of I Ask the Answer. One more quick topic, guys, and then our final point of the week. We have about 2 minutes left here in the program. This one comes from Jim, who emails the show. Guys, he wants to purchase a share in a horse for his son as a birthday present with hopes that horse could run in the Midwest on that circuit, like Churchill and Keeneland. By the way, his son's birthday is today, so happy birthday to your son, Jim. We appreciate the question. He wants to know what's the best way to get involved with a horse like this. Dale, what advice do you give him?
There's 2 ways to do it, I would think. If you want to spend thousands, you call West Point and you get involved with our sponsor's horse and tell them, they buy the horse and they designate where it's going. You get one that's going to me. That'd be a good one. Buy in on that one, and and then you'll be in the Midwest, and you'll have a whole lot of fun. You might make some money. But if you just want to spend a few hundred here or there, then you go to My Racehorse. You call them or go online and purchase a little share of one of their horses and try to designate the horse be one of the horses they send to the Midwest.
Now, Jim has another question about the late Hall of Famer Mac Miller, which we're going to bring up next Saturday morning here on the program. We'll get to that. But, Jim, appreciate that. Hope it works out, and it'd be a wonderful gift for your son. Final point of the week, Tim Wilkin, you go first, my friend. What is your final point of the week on this Saturday morning?
My final point is just a congratulations to everyone that participated in the Breeders' Cup this year. Fabulous races at Del Mar. They did a good job putting the races on, and it's sort of it's a sport that never ends. But that was sort of the end of the season. Now we start all over again. But just a public attaboy to all the horsemen and their staffs that work so hard every day, and the ones that got out here. Congratulations for getting their horses to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, congratulations to all of them. But I just want to say what a great week I've had. It was fun to hang out and be a spectator and fan at the Breeders' Cup and to come home and get my new grandson. And I can't wait to take him to his first Kentucky Derby next May. Like I did my kids. They've never missed one their entire life, and hopefully he doesn't either. Good one.
Dale, we couldn't be happier for you. Congrats again, my friend.
Thank you, fellas. Next week.
All right, guys. Enjoy the weekend. We'll do it all over again next Saturday morning. If you have a topic you want Dale and Tim to discuss, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, or post it on our social media pages. I Asked, They Answer is presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program, and the College of Business. I'm back with more and the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
be sure to download the Blood Horse Daily app to read the latest headlines and get push notification on breaking thoroughbred racing and breeding news. And it's all free. It's also delivered straight to your inbox every evening with the latest news, race results, analysis, and more. You can sign up today at bloodhorse.com/daily. That's bloodhorse.com/daily and get your daily edge in racing free. Lee Delapina has the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. Which famous game show host once owned a 724-acre horse breeding farm in Santa Barbara, California? That was a longtime Jeopardy host Alex Trebek, who owned Creston Farm from 1996 to 2005, which was home to nearly 400 horses a year, including graded stakes winner Reba's Gold in 2005.
There you have it. Did you get it right? I hope you did. We'll be back with another impossible trivia question on next Saturday's edition of the Equine Forum. I hope you enjoyed this one. Boy, what a busy show, huh? Had a lot of fun looking back on the Breeders' Cup, and then by doing so, looking ahead to next year. Had a chance to hear from Ned Noffey. My thanks to him for being here to talk about Ted Noffey winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And he gave you a preview of what might be next for him and what his 2026 campaign could look like. Jose Francisco D'Angelo was here. My thanks to Jose. And to Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, Donnacha O'Brien. You heard from Dean Reeves, Kurt Becker with the Stroll Through Racing History, Vance Hanson with the TwinSpires Triple Play, and my thanks to Dale and Tim. In the previous segment, I Ask, They Answer. If you missed any portion of this show, head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, to listen to the podcast, and you can do that too on every podcast platform. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studio, to Chauncey for handling all of our social media, and to every one of you for tuning in. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening. Go Steelers. Bring on the Chargers.